All rise. Face to east. 5 fingers on the left, 2 fingers on the right. Recite the Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah, the Father of the universe,
Father of love.
the Father of love,
Truth.
truth,
Peace.
peace,
Freedom.
freedom,
And justice.
and justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is my protector,
My guide.
my guide,
And my salvation.
and my salvation.
By night.
By night
And by day.
and by day,
Through his holy prophet.
holy prophet,
Through Ali.
through Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Islam. First, I'd like to rise and give praises to the great God Allah, who is the author, the creator, the governor of the world, almighty, eternal, and incomprehensible. He is the causeless cause and the rootless root from which all things have grown, to the one who's supreme, most wise and beneficent. To him alone belongs worship, adoration, thanksgiving, and praise. Let us say praise Allah.
Praise Allah.
To his illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali, the last prophet in these days. He is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, 1913 AD, savior of humanity. Prophet Noble Drew Ali said, have a deeper appreciation for womanhood. I give honors to all true and divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, Confucius, etc. I give honors to our forerunner, Marcus Messiah Garvey, for paving the way. I give honors to all past supreme grand advisors and the moderators of the Moorish Science Temple of America in concession, Brother C. Kirkman Bey, Brother F. Nelson Bey, and Brother J. Blakely Bey. I give honors to our past Grand Sheikh and moderator, Brother R. Love Ill, may Allah be pleased. I give honors to the present Grand Sheikh and moderator, Brother R. Jones Bey, and his assistant, Brother P. Chase Ill. I give honors to the Grand National Chairman, Sister S. Russell Dunbar Bey, and her assistant, Brother V. Bell Bey. I give honors to the Grand Governor of the State of New York, Brother C. Herc Bey, and his assistant, Brother K. Richardson Ill. I give honors to all the official staffs, members, guests, sheiks, past, present, national, state, and local official of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I give honors to our Grand Sheik in Temple number 34, Brother Y. Cyrus Hill, and his assistant, Brother W. Clendon Bey. I give honors to the chairman, Brother C. Ferguson Hill, and he's also the Grand Governor of the state of Connecticut. I give honors to our Assistant Secretary, Sister B. Reeves Bey. I give honors to our Mufti. I give honors to our Divine Ministers, Sister Cecile Zill and Brother L. Serrano Bey. I give honors to all members, all guests, all visitors, wayfarers, seekers after truth. I give honors to our 2 flags, the American flag and the Moorish flag, which represents the 5 highest principles known to man: love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. I give honors to our charter, which give us the right to practice and promote Islamism in America without molestation. I give honors to man, because when man honors man, he honors his Father God Allah. Islam. I will now take a Islam. I will now take a read from our Divine Constitution and Bylaws. Salvation, our God, unity. The Moorish Science Temple of America, the Divine Constitution and Bylaw. Act 1. The Grand Sheik and the Chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America is empowered to make law and enforce law with the assistance of the Prophet and the Grand Body of the Moorish Science Temple of America. The Assistant Grand Sheik is to assist the Grand Sheik in all affairs if he lives according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, and it is known before the members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Act 2. All meetings are to be open and closed promptly according to the Circle 7 in love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Friday is our holy day of rest, because on a Friday the first man was formed in flesh, and on a Friday the first man departed out of flesh and ascended unto his Father God Allah. For that cause, Friday is a holy day for all Muslims all over the world. Act 3. Love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice must be proclaimed and practiced by all members of the Moorish Science Temple of America. No member is to put in danger or accuse falsely his brother or sister on any occasion at all that may harm his brother or sister, because Allah is love. Act 4. All members must preserve these holy and divine laws, and all members must obey the law of the government, because by being a Moorish American, you are part and parcel of the government and must live the life accordingly. Act 5. This organization of the Moorish Science Temple of America is not to cause any confusion or to overthrow the laws and constitution of this said government, but to obey hereby. Act 6. With us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and the southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple of America. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father God, Allah. Noble Drew Ali, founder, Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my God, and my salvation by night and by day through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. The Moorish Science Temple of America, Home Office 2905 5th Street, Southeast Washington, D.C. 20032. Thus I read the 7 acts from the Divine Constitution and Bylaws. I'll now bring your attention over to the Quran questions for Moorish Americans, page 7. Question is, an additional laws for the Moorish Americans by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Act 1. Grand sheikhs and governors and heads of all temples, all businesses, each said temple must be approved by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Before acting upon any member, let it be finance, property, or any line of life that will cause the member to sacrifice finance, etc., that will cause the support of any group of members. Any former officer that violates these laws is subject to be removed from his office under heavy restriction, etc., by the Prophet or the Grand Sheikh. Act 2. All members are to attend their debt meetings and their public meetings promptly. If a member is found standing around on a meeting period, shall be fined 50 cents on the first case. And on the second, he will be fined $1, which will go on your emergency fund. If members is working, his monthly dues must be paid. And if he has money in the bank, he must subscribe for as much as he is able to the Moorish Uplifting Fund, because it takes finance to uplift a nation. Act 3. It is lawful and divine duty of every good member, if he is able in finance, to aid me in saving the nation, and if he does not, he is an enemy to the cause of uplifting his own people, and justice must catch you. Let it be he or she according to love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice, as I have the power invested in my hands, and I will have to enforce the law in order to save the nation. Act 4. All members, while making a public speech, must not use any assertion against the American flag or speak radical against the church or any member of any organized group, because we are to teach love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Act 5. All members must promptly attend their meetings and send their children to Sunday school, and the teacher must confirm himself to the questionnaire, and let every member exercise his 5 senses who is able to do so, because out from Sunday school comes the guiders of the nation. Act 6, with us, all members must proclaim their nationality, and we are teaching our people their nationality and their divine creed, that they may know that they are part and parcel of this said government, and know that they are not Negroes, colored folks, Black people, or Ethiopians, because these names were given to slaves by slaveholders in 1779 and lasted until 1865 during the time of slavery. But this is a new era of time now, and all men now must proclaim their free national name to be recognized by the government in which they live in the nations of the earth. This is the reason why Allah, the great God of the universe, ordained Noble Drew Ali, the prophet, to redeem his people from their sinful ways. The Moorish Americans are the descendants of the ancient Moabites who inhabited the northwestern and the southwestern shores of Africa. Act 7. All members must promptly attend their meetings and become a part and a partial of all uplifting acts of the Moorish Science Temple. Members must pay their dues and keep in line with all necessities of the Moorish Science Temple. Then you are entitled to the name of faithful. Husband, you must support your wife and children. Wife, you must obey your husband and take care of your children and look after the duties of your household. Sons and daughters must obey father and mother and be industrious and become a part of the uplifting of fallen humanity. All Moorish Americans must keep their hearts and minds pure with love and their bodies clean with water. This divine covenant is from your holy prophet, Noble Drew Ali, through the guidance of his father, God Allah. Thus I read the 7 additional acts from the Quran, questions for Moorish Americans. I will now bring your attention to the Quran, the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by the noble prophet, Drew Ali, by the guidance of his father, God Allah, the great God of the universe, to redeem man from the sinful and fallen stage of humanity back to the highest plane of life with his father, God Allah. Know thyself in Allah. I will bring your attention to page chapter 28, page 38, the divine instructions from the Holy Prophet, the holy instructions from the Prophet, master and servant. Repine not, O man, at the state of servitude. It is the appointment of Allah, and have many advantages. It removeth thee from cares and solicitude in life. The honor of his servitude is his fidelity. His highest virtues are submission and obedience. Be patient, therefore, under the reproof of thy master, and when he rebuketh thee, answer not again. The silence of thy resignation shall not be forgotten. Be studious of his interests, be diligent in his affairs, and faithful to the trust which he reposeth in thee. Thou time and thou labor belong unto him. Defraud him not thereof, for he payeth thee for them. And thou who art a master, be just to thy servant, if thou expect of him fidelity, and reasonable in thou commands, if thou expecteth ready obedience. The spirit of a man is in him. Severity and rigor may create fear, but can never command love. Mix kindness with reproof, and reason with authority. So shall thou admonition take place in his heart, and his duty shall become his pleasure. He shall serve thee faithfully from the motive of gratitude. He shall obey thee cheerfully from the principle of love, and fail thou not in return to give his diligence and fidelity their proper reward. Thus I read the chapter 28, instructions from the Holy Prophet, master and servant. I want to welcome each and every one of you to our Sunday school meeting. I pray that you can take home some treasures that you can use for your weekly travels in the world. I will now call on our Sunday school instructor for today, our Grand Sheikh, Brother Y. Cyrus Ill. Peace.
Peace, peace, praise Allah. Thank you, Sister Barry Bay, Chairman, for opening up our meeting. I first like to rise again and give praise to the great God Allah. I give high honor to the last prophet in these days, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Who is the founder of the Moorish Science Temple of America, divinely prepared by the great God Allah. Praise Allah. I give high honor to all of the divine prophets, Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, to our forerunner, Brother Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I give honors to all the leaders of the Moorish Science Temple of America, past and present. I give honors to the first Supreme Grand Advisor and moderator, Brother C. Kirkman Bey, who said, Brother Kirkman Bey, it was the one that I quoted on Friday. He said, leadership is hell. Brother Kirkman Bey faithfully served the Moorish Science Temple of America for 30 years. And in the first 2 years of his administration, Brother Kirkman Bey said leadership, in the first couple of years of his leadership, he actually went through hell. For those that know the history, I don't want to go into that. I'm just pointing out Brother Kirkman Bey to speak on some of his history actually today. I give honors to all of the leaders, Brother C. Kirkman Bey, Brother F. Nelson Bey, Brother J. Blakely Bey, and Brother R. Love Ill, the former Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America. I give honors to the present Grand Sheikh and moderator, Brother R. Jones Bey, who is now in the high leading the Moorish Americans, leading the leader of the Moorish Divine and National Movement. I give honors to the leaders of all national, state, and local officials. I give honors to our Grand Sheikh Emeritus, Sister E. German Bey, to our former Grand Sheikh, Brother W. Clendenin Bey. I give honors to all of the members. I give honors to all of the officials at Temple Number 34. I give honors to all of the officers. I give honors to everyone that's actually on this call this afternoon. I continue honors to the charter with its 10 great wonders of the world, to the flags, the 2 flags, American flag for the government in which it stands, and the Moorish flag for the nation in which it stands. I give honors to all of the Prophet's literature, giving honors to the Divine Constitution and bylaws, to the additional laws, to the Moorish Holy Quran, the questionary, oral statements, Moorish literature, and everything that the Prophet brought for the uplifting of fallen humanity. Praise Allah. Moors, let's go into the questionnaire. I'm going to do this fairly quickly because I want to delve into more directly into some information I'd like to share with the Moors. So I'm going to read one question. We'll go into a discussion about one question, and then I'm going to read another portion from a different section. And then we're going to dive into this information. So on the great meeting is on Quran questions for Moorish Americans. The top of page 1 has the Moorish American prayer. Allah, the Father of the universe, the Father of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Allah is my protector, my guide, and my salvation by night and by day. Through his holy prophet, Drew Ali. Amen. Praise Allah. So let's see who's on this call. Let's see who's on the call first. Let me see if I can get somebody different this time to go over just because we're only going to do a couple of questions. Let's get Brother Vocaz L. Brother Vocaz L, you got your questionnaire with you, beloved? Okay, we got Sister Dupree Bey on the line. Islam, Sister Dupree Bey, praise Allah. And DG, who's DG? Sam Ham, Islam, Sister Sam?
Islam.
Islam, Brother Vocaz L.
Islam.
Sister Reeves, praise Allah. Anubis King, good, very good. So let's go with Sister Brother Vocaz L. You ready?
I'm ready, Grand Sheikh.
Islam, I know you're gonna give your praise and honors. Let's keep the praise and honors. Let's everyone show off your short version of praise and honors. Islam.
Islam, I give praise to the God of the universe, Allah, my Father. I give high honors to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to the Moorish Science Temple of America. I give honors to all of you that can hear my voice. And honors to you, Grand Sheikh and Temple Number 34.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Thank you, Brother Vocaz El. Honor to you too, brother, man. So question number 1, Quran questions for Moorish children. Question number 1, who made you?
Allah.
Who is Allah?
Allah is the Father of the universe.
Can we see him?
No.
Where is the nearest place we can meet him?
In the heart.
Islam. Who is Noble Drew Ali?
Noble Drew, excuse me. He is Allah's prophet.
What is the prophet?
A prophet is a thought of Allah manifest in flesh.
A thought of Allah, right? The infinite thought of Allah manifested in the flesh. What is the duty of a prophet?
To save the nations from the wrath of Allah.
Islam. Say that question for me one more time, nice and slow. Save
Nations.
Nations. So this is the question I want to zero in on just for a little bit. When you read that, what sticks out to you? If you're thinking, right, you got your thinking cap on, like they used to say back in the day. What sticks out about that answer? What can you say that's maybe interesting about that answer?
Nations, I think of the symbol for earth with the circle and then the cross of the four corners of the earth, meaning the center point of all nations.
Okay.
The earth is.
So that's the right thought, actually. Nations, right? Sticks out. So walk with me through this thought. How is the prophet saving the nations, plural? And then what nations? Everyone can jump in at this point. What Brother Volquez, you still got the floor, but if I hear in Islam, we're gonna switch over to who had that thought first. What nations?
Islam. The nations of earth, all mankind.
Okay. How?
Peace, the gospel, goodwill to men.
Okay. Anyone else? How is the prophet saving the nations? Plural.
Islam.
Brother
Turner Bay has his hand up.
Islam, Brother Turner Bay. How is the prophet saving the nations? Which ones? How?
I rise and give praises to the great God of Allah. I give honors to everything the chairman gave honors to, and I give honors to you because when man honors man, he honors his father God, Allah, Islam. Nations, well, that's all people. That's all people on the planet Earth that serves under their vine and fig tree. You said how? Truth is Allah.
Let me get this in gear because this is your type of conversation too, Brother Turner Bay. This is a lead into some law. I want to get into law in the next couple of weeks again. Law in general, and I don't want to tip off this question. I don't want to lead the Moors to the answer too easily. But so how does that work? Where we have a Prophet Noble Drew Ali, people challenging us on our own prophet. They say, okay, well, what do you mean he's a prophet? And we like, hold up, who you talking? Because I said he's a prophet. He's my prophet. He don't got to be yours, whether he's mine or yours. How are you questioning me about my prophet? When we have these discussions, we have to explain and expound what the cartoon means. The misinterpretation that Aisha said, don't say that Prophet Muhammad was the seal of the prophet. The seal meant a birthmark on his back, right? But the thought that people would challenge us about us having our own prophet. How is the prophet supposed to speak to the world?
Islam. Well, see, it says like in the questions before, it says a prophet is a thought of Allah manifested in the flesh.
That's right.
Right. So that means that's telling me that all prophets, even the major ones that we study, but it also says etc., which is Muhammad, Jesus, Confucius, and Buddha, etc. Right.
Mm-hmm. So
all these prophets were manifested in the flesh, and they all brought the same vibration and the same not the same demonstration, but the same vibration, which was the 5 highest principles known to man, which is love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Now each one of those attributes, it's to me, right, it comes with, my understanding, it comes with level. So when love is your first internal, and then you're able to manifest that, you know what I'm saying, that being the truth, right? And you find peace, right? It says, if you want to speak to Allah, you got to be still, and he speaks to you in a still small voice, right? and the freedoms. Now, freedom is the freedom to express your love, your truth, and your peace, right? So now we're dealing with society, right? Which we know that we are in society to receive and confer reciprocal helps, right? So in these reciprocal helps, you have different nations, right? And our nation, there came about a constitution because it was many. It came about, however it came about. It came about in this one nation. It became many nations. So in the resolution and the compact, they created the Constitution to in an agreement on how we would treat each other socially, in society and internationally with other nations of other continents. So now Noble Drew Ali noticed that we had an issue, us being displaced or undesirables or denationalized people on this continent. We suffered from what they call slavery or in slavery, because we couldn't, in some instances, we were unable to answer up to the constitutional fold, right, by name and principle. So the constitutional fold that we were missing came about in a excuse me, in a case called Dred Scott. In a couple of other cases, like the slaughterhouse cases, but in the Dred Scott, which is like over 130 something pages, it details who and what the nations on this continent and this United States labeled the displaced or undesirables, who they deemed undesirable here.
Good. And Bay, let me stop you right there, because that's good. You on it now. Actually, let's save some. Let me save some for. I want to run this thought just to get the more gears going a little bit, and you right on it. Actually, right. I want to go to Brother Anderson Bay, and I'm going to go to Brother Serrano Bay. I'm gonna call my two brothers out. Unless there's anyone else that has a comment that want to jump out. Sister Harmony, you see any other hands at this moment?
Islam, Brother C. Coel.
Islam, Brother Coel. We got to let my brother Coel come in, and then I'm going to go to. I said Brother Anderson Bay, right, who works with the, he works in the city. Let's say that. I'm not going to keep throwing your credentials out there, Brother Anderson. and Brother Serrano Bay, who's one of our resident historians, right, researcher, right, one of our scholars, right, coming up. Brother Coel, how did the prophet speak to the nations, plural?
The prophet was prepared by the great God Allah. And he was prepared and sent to redeem man or nations from their sinful ways, particularly the Moors, who was outside the Constitution. Yes. Now, in order to restore our birthright, right, we had to get us back in line under certain principles in order to get back our divine right according to the free Constitution. So that's what it really was about, what the prophet came to say and put you in the mind frame of your forefathers. Because what your forefathers were, you are without doubt or contradiction today. But if you're moving contrary to that, then you are outside the Constitution fold and you subject to all the abuses and misuses that the citizen can bestow upon you.
Islam. That's perfect. That's that other part. In order to speak to any of these laws, right? Law speaks to principle. So you got to first be on your square. And I always say the Constitution, that is the greatest document that was ever written according to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and I concur, I agree completely. It doesn't fit you. If you're outside of your principles, how you expect to be able to go along with law, which is the ridiculous part about, a lot of times when the Moors come in and they want to get a card and they're thinking in terms of sovereignty, they want to be the case, really. And they're like, look, this is my get out of jail free card. No, it's not. No, it's not, because you're not on your principles. First, when you listen to the case, you're like, you dead wrong. So yes, we have to be on our principles. Praise Allah. Thank you, Brother Cole.
Let me add on too, so we can do the correction. See, because the Dred Scott case of the 1857 was about citizenship. So they were saying that Dred Scott, because he went from one place to another, didn't make him still a citizen. And Justin Buchanan said, man, that in the end, they had no rights as long as you calling yourself a Negro or colored or black, even Afro-American today, you still saying that we are your forefathers. You saying we are your surrogate mother and father. So therefore, you still property under our eyes. And that's the problem that the Negro might face or the colored man have to face today. As long as he say these names that delude to slavery, he's actually saying that the European is his surrogate mother and father. But the prophet said we place trust in the names and the principles of our forefathers. That's not our forefathers, but if you use their names that they gave you, then what you are.
Islam. If you do not have a nationality, right? You don't have a nationality, you can't participate in the United States of America, the Constitution of the United States of America. You fall subject to the article, I said it wrong, it's Article 1, actually I said it on another venue, Article 1, Section 2.3, that's correct, praise Allah. Let me really-
question.
Hang on, Brother Turner-Bay, go ahead, Brother Turner-Bay, real quick. I want to dive right into this info, so I want to keep this part short. I want to give the other brothers a chance. You go first, though.
Pardon the body more. Brother Cole L said correction. What was he correcting?
Oh yeah. Okay, all right. Let me just do this. Yeah, but he was building on. He was building on what you said. Actually, that is a reason to reply. Is when, yes. But he actually built it on. He built further on to what you said. Is that all right, Brother Turner-Bay?
Islam.
He added on. Let me go to Brother Anderson Bay. Brother Anderson Bay, how does the prophet speak to the nations? How can he speak to the nations? How did he speak to the nations? This is a curveball for you because I'm not sure if you've heard this part before. But you know, I definitely wanted you to weigh in.
Okay. Peace. First, I rise and give praise to the great God Allah. I want to give high honors to his love thought manifested in the flesh, our illustrious prophet, Noble Drew Ali.
Islam.
I want to give high honors to everything that pertains to Islam and everything that the Grand Sheikh gave honors to. So, Islam. So, present the question to me again, once again, Grand Sheikh.
So we're in the question area. We just got to question number 7, right? Number 7.
Yes.
It says, what is the duty of a prophet? And the answer is to save nations, plural, from the wrath of Allah. And the earlier stuff we jumped right over is that he's not saying just save us. That would have been nation, save the nation. He's saying save nations from the wrath of Allah. How? Actually, how?
So, I have an answer. Something I was guided to is it's in chapter 8 of the Holy Quran, the Moorish Science Temple of America, and it's instruction 24.
Islam.
Here's the beginning of the solution for me, as what I always see. Where Christ said, I am your brother man, just come to show you the way to Allah. You shall not worship man, praise Allah, the Holy One. So it asks, why do prophets come here to save the nation? And right there in that instruction, it tells me right there. Why Jesus was sent, right? Why the prophet was sent, right? The prophet is my brother, and he just came to show me the way to Allah. You shall not worship man. Praise Allah, the Holy One. And when he says do not praise man, worship man, that means myself, not to worship my carnal self.
Right.
Not to indulge in those things.
Right.
And with that, I say peace.
Praise Allah. That's such a great point. And you brought me back to a thought that I was having.
Islam?
Hang on 1 second, Sister Berry. Hang on 1 second.
I cannot hear.
You can't hear us? Can you hear me? Can you hear me now, Sister Berry Bay? Okay, yeah, I'm not sure what's going on. Can the Moors hear me?
Islam, we can hear you.
Okay.
Can you hear
Loud
me?
and clear, Grand Sheikh.
Islam, Brother Coleman. Yes, Sister Berry Bay.
Islam.
Can you hear me? Can you hear us?
I can hear you now, but I was muted while you all were hearing each other. I couldn't hear nobody, but you were all interactive.
Yeah, that's not the mute button. That is your mic was going out on you. Might be check your headphones if you have headphones or your speaker.
I don't have headphones on. I'm doing what I normally do.
Okay, maybe it's the speaker.
Just reach out to me, Sister Sealzo, if you need some help, and I'll try to troubleshoot you from the side end, okay?
Praise Allah. I was going to say that was such a great point, brother, brother Anderson Bay, because first of all, when you think about the prophets speaking to the nations, half of the prophets, many of the prophets were resisted. They were refused. They were ignored, attacked. Prophet Muhammad was attacked. He got ran out of Mecca. Jonah was terrified to even go and try to speak to the people of Nineveh. Prophet Jesus, they refused him. The Pharisees set him up and tried to kill him because he was going against the system. A lot of the Lot was an utter failure. He wasn't an utter failure, but his mission failed. He had to leave Babylon and it got destroyed, although he had a bunch of chances to try to get the people to listen to what he was saying, to the nation that they came to. So then the other part is Jesus. How long did it take before Jesus' message spread to the entire world? Because he didn't get a chance to set up an organization. Prophet Noble Drew Ali set up the Moorish Science Temple of America. He wrote a book. Jesus didn't get to write a book. Muhammad made sure to put a book. Well, he didn't write it. He put the verses together and made sure that they could not be distorted. These are my exact words, the way I want them instilled in the Holy Quran of Mecca. I'm going to read a part that says, this is from the Moorish literature, Divine Warning by the Prophet for the Nations, right? Again, plural, right? It says, in a couple of paragraphs in, it says, so there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem. So there isn't but one supreme issue for my people to use to redeem that which was lost. I have one of these copies that's kind of sketchy looking. And that is through the above statements. Then the lion and the lamb can lay down together in yonder hills. And remember, in this, for those that don't know the context of this article, he's talking about the United States here. Then the lion and the lamb can lay down together in yonder hills, and neither will be harmed, because love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice will be reigning in this land. In those days, the United States will be one of the greatest civilized, prosperous governments of the world. But if the above principles are not carried out by the citizens and my people in this government, the worst is yet to come. Because the great God of the universe is not pleased with the works that are being performed in North America by my people, and this great sin must be removed from the land to save it from enormous earthquakes, diseases, etc. So the prophet's message, actually, in order to get it to the nations can't do what humanity is usually very stubborn. I'm going to go to Brother Serrano Bay, and then I'm going to stop. Islam? I'm going to go to one more person. I'm hoping it could be Brother Serrano Bay, unless somebody else speaks to the point. Brother Serrano Bay, how, and I will go to Brother Kanina Bay, but Brother Kanina Bay is going to expose my lesson. I didn't tell him about it, but I know he's going to go right there. So I'm going to ask you, I see the AGS in the queue as well. Brother Serrano Bay, how did the prophet save the nations? It says, what is the duty of a prophet to save the nations? How can a prophet save the nations? Prophet Noble Ali, how did he?
Islam. First I rise and I give all praise to the great God Allah. I give honor to his holy and divine prophet Noble Drew Ali and everything that pertains to Islam. My sister actually, she wanted to answer the question, and I wanted to yield to Sister Cecile. That's all right.
Thank you, Sheikh.
Peace.
Peace. Sister Silsville?
Islam. Thank you, Brother Serrano Bay. First I rise and I give praises to Allah. I give honors to our Prophet Noble Drew Ali, and I give honors to everything pertaining to Islam. And I give honors to man, because when man gives honors to man, he gives honors to his Father God Allah. I was just gonna say with the concept of what nation meant, and so the fact that it said what are angels used for, and then it says what is an angel, and then it expresses that our prophet is an angel to us. And so these angels are specifically manifested in human flesh, which means that there are certain limits, right? Because the human flesh there's a limit within the human flesh. So it specifies human, letting you know that they're going to be doing things in an earthly fashion. That's what it says to me. So then it talks about what are they used for? To carry messages to the four corners of the world, to all nations. And so when you think about the concept of what a nation consists of, so what does it mean to all nation? A nation has to have a group of people, at least one or more nationalities, and then they usually have to be large in size and certain level of independence. So they come with like a precursor to I guess to certain kind of a independence or a certain kind of a move. And so when the prophet is coming to people, he's coming to people who have already at least tried to prepare themselves and now may be still being oppressed and prevented from certain aspects of freedom. So it's saying like he at least, that is just telling us that, to me, that we had certain things already in place. It's telling us that we had certain communities put together, we had laws, we had certain things instituted, but now there was just something else holding us back. And so that was my thought, just based on like what Merriam-Webster from the 1828 definition breaks down as far as what nations are. It kind of says a territorial division containing a body of people of one or more nationality, usually characterized by relatively large size and independent status. It says a community of people composed of one or more nationalities and possessing a more or less defined territory and government. And so I think that that was something that was very important, us getting involved in our government to be able to make sure that there are certain rules to moderate the people, the lion and the lamb. I appreciate this topic as well, Grand Sheik. And I just encourage the Moors, if you can, to use the raise the hand button. That way you don't get muted accidentally, and so that you can actually get filtered into the convo. With that, I say peace.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Peace. Thank you, Sister Silzil. I want to move very quickly. This I'm going to read. I would be remiss if I did not read in a couple of additional questions into this before we dive into them. I'll start sharing my screen in a second. Sister Harmony, if you have your questionnaire with you, can you help me read through these next? Looks like about about 8 questions. Starting with question 85. Sister Harmony, if you want to give praise and honors first.
Islam, Grand Sheik. First, I rise and give praise to the great God Allah, high honors to our Prophet, Noble Drew Ali, and to everything that pertains to Islam.
Perfect, perfect. Question 85. Name some of the marks that were put upon the Moors of Northwest by the European nations in 1774.
Negro, Black, Colored, and Ethiopian.
Question 86. Negro.
A name given to a river in West Africa by Moors because it contains black water.
Question 87. What is meant by the word black?
Black, according to science, means death.
What does the word colored mean?
Colored means anything that has been painted, stained, varnished, or dyed.
What does Ethiopia mean?
Ethiopia means something divided.
Can a man be a Negro, black, colored, or Ethiopian?
No.
Why?
Because man is made in the image and after the likeness of God Allah.
What title does Satan give himself?
God.
Will you define the word white?
White means purity, purity means God, and God means the ruler of the land.
Islam. And with that, Moors, I'm going to do something a little different, and I'm going to go directly into some information that I want the Moors all to be aware of. And I'm going to begin by sharing my screen. See something here. So in the Moorish Guide, issue of the Moorish Guide, I'm trying to remember what the date, this was, must have been 1928, late 1928. It describes this picture here, which I'm going to come back to. Anyone know? Well, I know Brother Kadinabe knows what this picture is. I believe what this picture is, but let me go with the article first. This is a zoom out a little bit so you can see the whole page. Moorish Guide. The date on this actually is August 24th, 1928, and it actually has an article about the trips of the Prophet. Mentions that several different places that the Prophet traveled to in Mexico and throughout the United States, right? He was in New York even in 1928. He visits New York. It's in this article. I'm going to read the first one. It says, the conference that was held in Havana, Cuba, January 1928, was attended by the Prophet who went to the conference and connected the Moors of North America back to the Asiatic brothers and sisters in Cuba. The Prophet made the tour. I can't make that out. That one looks like my copy of the Moorish literature. Actually, I'm not sure what that says, right? So the prophet went to the Pan American Conference in Havana, Cuba, 1928. And I want to go over that. I want the Moors to be aware of what that was, what happened, and then try to drill it down to something very, very powerful things that actually are representative of why the prophet was there. And this is a photograph of the prophet. At the bottom, it says that this was the prophet at the 6th Pan American Conference in Havana, Cuba, on which was a conference on private international law, right? And Sister Harmony, tell me at any point if my screen doesn't, I'm gonna transfer from, in a minute, from this application into my Safari. So this is from the oral statements. Oral statement number 180. I'm gonna ask, is Sister Reeves Bay on the line? Let me see if I can get Sister Reeves Bay, Brother Anderson Bay. Brother Anderson Bay, if you can read statement number 180. I'm gonna zoom in a little bit for you.
Okay, all right. Peace, okay.
Peace.
You said 180, right?
180,
okay.
Yes.
Sister M. Lovett L. Pass, Grand Governor of Illinois, said that the Holy Prophet asked her, do you have anyone in your temple that can speak foreign languages? She said yes. At that time, she was the Grand Sheikess of Temple 9. She said that one cold night that she took Brother C. Kirkman Bey to the Holy Prophet's office, where she said, Brother Prophet, this is the brother that I was talking about, she said. I thought that I was introducing him to the prophet, but they already knew each other because they had went to school together. Keep going, yeah.
I'm gonna say keep going, but I'm gonna say that's one to think about. They went to school together. Interesting. This is Sister Lovett Ill. Sister Lovett Ill and Prophet Noble Drew Ali she worked closely with Prophet Noble Drew Ali. By the way, Sister M. Lovett Ill was, I mentioned on Friday, the sister that taught Sister D. Warner Bay, the Grand Sheikh of Temple number 57 in Lockport, Illinois, actually, Islam.
Sister Whitehead Ill, right, Grand Sheik? You said it last
Previously,
Friday?
Sister Whitehead Ill. I called her a Bay on Friday. She's actually ill. Whitehead Ill, who's on the lithograph, right? As the Grand Sheikess of Temple number 9. Sister D. Warner Bay says Sister Lovett Ill was the first female Grand Sheik, right? She was a mufti. She got her whole own history that she was a powerful sister. But the prophet knew Brother Kirkman Bey from, they went to school together. Brother Serrano Bey?
Islam.
Islam.
I just want to say also, this oral statement and prophecy is also proof that Brother C. Kirkman Bey being the janitor of Prophet Noble Drew Ali was a rumor. It wasn't an actual fact. And the reason why I say that, and there is a significance and importance in that, because Prophet Noble Drew Ali told Brother E. Millie Ill that he gave him his keys until the Prophet returned, and he said that if he would have to ever go anywhere, to give his office keys to Brother C. Kirkman Bey. And then you have people who created this rumor that he was the janitor, and that's the only reason why the Prophet wanted Brother C. Kirkman Bey to have his keys. And what the relationship between that and this oral statement is that Brother C. Kirkman Bey's governor, his Grand Sheikess, because she was also the Grand Sheikess of Temple number 9, did not know that Brother C. Kirkman Bey knew Prophet Noble Drew Ali prior to their meeting.
Wow,
so
good
Brother
point.
C. Kirkman Bey was the Prophet's janitor, Sister Lovett Ill would have known.
Yeah, known that they knew each other. Right. Praise Allah, praise Allah. Powerful point. Thank you, Brother Serrano Bey. I want to stay tight on this because there's a statement that Brother Kirkman Bey made on foreign soil, or that the Prophet made on foreign soil to Brother Kirkman Bey. I want to zero in on the conference because there's a lot here. Wait till you see how much there is to really fully understand this trip. So I'm going to go back to Brother Anderson Bey. If you can continue from there, Brother Bey.
Yep. She said that the Holy Prophet asked Brother C. Kirkman Bey, can you speak High German? Brother C. Kirkman Bey said, yes, but I am a little rusty. She said that the Holy Prophet reached into a trunk, pulled out a book, and dusted it off with a feather duster and handed it to Brother Kirkman Bey, and he read from it. The Holy Prophet was satisfied and told him that he had to go down to Cuba, and he wanted him to go with him. Brother Kirkman Bey told the Prophet that he had a wife and a child or children. The Holy Prophet let him know that they would be provided for. The Holy Prophet then took Brother Kirkman Bey to the Pan-American Conference in Cuba in 1928.
Islam. And then we're going to go into the next part of that statement, which is made by this brother. This is Brother I. Cook Bey. And this is courtesy of Sister R. Higgins Bey, who's the Grand Sheikh of Temple number 3. Sister Higgins Bey actually posted this. She posted a bunch of beautiful pictures on her Facebook yesterday about, old pictures. This is Brother I. Cook Bey. She also posted a picture of Brother G. Cook Bey, right? And this sister here, who is, I think I have that at the bottom. She said that is Brother G and Sister Marie Cook Bey, Sister M. Cook Bey, actually on her Facebook page. And this is the beauty of being in the temple, because, you get access to some of this priceless. I don't know if these pictures have ever been seen before, if these are in Temple 3. But anyway, the next statement is made by Brother I. Cook Bey, right? Very famous in the Moorish Divine National Movement, based on his relationship with the Prophet Noble Drew Ali during the time of the Prophet's life. So we're going to go to the statement that is attributed to Brother I. Cook Bey, which is number 39. And I'm going to ask Sister Reeves Bey, if we're going to do a couple, Sister Reeves Bey and Brother Volkaz Il, if Sister Reeves Bey is available, I wanted to read the first paragraph of this, and then Brother Volkaz Il maybe finish it off.
Islam,
little sis.
Islam, Grand Sheikh. First, I want to rise, giving all praises to who we refer to at times as being a great God, Allah. I give high honor to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honor to the forerunner Marcus Mosiah Garvey. I give honors to everything pertaining to Islamism. With that being said, you want me to read question 39?
Yeah, if you could just go do the opening paragraph, and then we're gonna talk a little bit, and then I'll have Brother Volkaz Il continue from there.
Okay, 39. Brother I. Cook Bey, GG of Illinois. That's what it stands for.
He's the emeritus, Grand Governor Emeritus.
Told Brother R. Love Ill, Grand Sheikh of the Moorish Science Temple of America, and Brother C. Tyson Bey, past chairman of the Moorish Science Temple of America, about the time when the Holy Prophet Noble Drew Ali and Brother C. Kirkman Bey, past Supreme Grand Advisor and moderator, went to the Pan-American Conference in 1928.
Praise Allah.
At that time, the Holy Prophet went there and represented the Moors, and there were an Indian chief representing the American Indians. The conference was in Havana, Cuba, and the nation of both North, South, and Central America was present. Secretary of State Hughes of the United States represented the United States at this conference.
Keep going, sis.
Kirkman Bey, who spoke 92 different languages, was the interpreter for the Holy Prophet at this conference. Brother I. Cook Bey said that when the Holy Prophet and Brother C. Kirkman Bey ship was high up at the dock, the Cuban army was standing on the dock. And Brother Kirkman Bey said something to them in Spanish, and the army came to attention. And then he and the Holy Prophet came down from the ship. At the conference, Brother C. Kirkman Bey addressed the conference in both Spanish and Arabic. And when the Secretary of State of the United States heard Brother Kirkman Bey speak, he said, "That's a dangerous man." Up to that period of time, the United States received a 50-year mandate for this land. At this conference, the mandate for this land was given to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Brother G. Cook Bey Grand Sheikh Emeritus of Temple One said that Prophet Noble Drew Ali showed us the mandate in the Adab chamber.
Islam. Thank you, Sister Reeves Bay. Praise Allah. Praise Allah. So, brother AGS, if you're on the line, I don't know if you want to I wanted to kind of move fairly swiftly through this. I wanted the Moors to speak a little bit of have an understanding of what this mandate means and what it is and what are the ramifications of the mandate, the 50-year mandate to the land.
Islam. I give praise to the great God Allah. I give honor to the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honor to all the Moors on the line, everything the assistant chairman gave honor to. Islam, Grand Sheikh. I personally, I've heard this many times. To me personally, this is folklore. You know, this is something the Moors say. I never seen any instrument. I don't even understand the concept. But they're talking about 50-year mandate from who to who? To what land? Are we talking about the United States of America? It's really established a free national constitutional government. From who? From Morocco, who doesn't have control of the land? I mean, it sounds good, right? It sounds good. Nobody's ever seen it except the people that said they saw it. No one's ever seen a copy of it. No one can even explain the whole concept of it. But so I tend to just leave that alone because, you know, if there was some kind of mandate given to the land by the prophet, I'm sure that would have taken another form within our newspaper, within promoting it, not in that way. It's shown to the Moors in the Adab chamber. So therefore, anybody that wasn't in there can't say that it was or not. So, you know, it's kind of like something someone could say, but you have no way of proving it. And besides that point, what does that mean, a mandate to the land for 50 years? Like what are they saying from that point forward, 50 years mandate, meaning what? And who's this mandate supposed to be coming from? It's coming from the United States. It's coming from Morocco. It's coming from some international body because he's sitting there in this organization of American states. That's what this conference is all about. This was the sixth one. So this whole conference that's been going on is dealing with various states from North, South, and Central America. So that's the only information I have more. I'm not going to continue talking about something that I've never seen, never heard a copy of, or don't even understand exactly the point they're making. Peace.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Very good input, though, Brother Kandinabe. And I will just say that, so we have, this is in our oral statements. This will be considered hadith, right? According to the rules of or Islam, right? You have the Quran that the Prophet put together. You have the actual Prophet's words, and then you have what the Moors that were with the Prophet attribute to the Prophet. And sometimes with hadith, you got to be a little careful. I won't add anything to what Brother Kandinabe said. I just want to present to the Moors what the discussion is about the Pan American Conference. And with that, I'm actually going to go to a document, since we're now talking about I want to go to this ship manifest. So this is a document that was floating around actually from a couple of years ago. The Moors were able to find, and this is a manifest for the ship that sailed from Havana to the United States on the date. So this is the date it sailed was January 25th. You can see the credentials of this manifest, right? January 25th, 1928, arriving in a certain point, Key West, same date, right? And on this manifest, it has the list of the American passengers, right? American citizens. You have the Prophet Noble Drew Ali, right? And you have Charles K. Bay, Brother Kirkman Bay, actually on this manifest. So I just wanted to, if the Moors have, this is not the original digital copy. I rescanned this in this morning, because I could not find my digital copy, but I did have a printout. With that, I'm going to stop sharing, and I'm going to go to my, I think it's Safari here, and I'm going to go over a couple of documents. This is where Sister Harmony, I want you to let me know if my screen fails to switch between tabs, right? This first tab, Pan American Conferences, right? I'm going to read this really quickly. This is what the Pan American Conferences were. There's a series of these from 1826 to 1948. Actually, and there've even been, I believe, some that actually continue. But I was always taught that this was like the evolution of the United Nations. It took different forms, but this is the earliest form. It's from the Britannica. As a website connected to the Encyclopedia Britannica. It says Pan American Conferences, plural. Various meetings between representatives of some or all of the independent states of the Western Hemisphere, Canada usually excluded, between 1826 and 1889. Several meetings between American states were held to discuss problems of common defense and judicial matters. The first International Conference of the American States from 1889 to 90, which was held largely as a result of the efforts of the US Secretary of State James G. Blaine, established the International Union of American Republics, later called the Pan American Union, with its headquarters in Washington, D.C. Subsequent conferences dealt with such matters of common concern as arbitration of financial and territorial claims, extradition of criminals, codification of international law. I'm going to come back to that. I'm going to click on that link. Well, I already clicked on the link. Codification of international law, copyrights, patents and trademarks, the status of aliens and diplomatic personnel, right? The Inter-American Conference for the Maintenance of Peace, held in 1936 at the request of President Franklin D. Roosevelt at Buenos Aires, how you say that? Adopted a draft treaty for the peaceful resolution of conflicts between American states. Conferences held in 1938 at Lima, in 1945 at, I don't know where that is, in Mexico City, in 1947 in Brazil, considered the problems of hemispheric defense, reciprocal assistance, and solidarity. The 9th International Conference of American States at Bogota, 1948, which was led by the United States, reconstituted the Pan American Organization as the Organization of American States. And has a C also. So remember, private international law was the subject of this particular conference. I'm going to go into that on the next link. Islam, Brother Kanene Bey.
If I could just read something to add to the conversation that you're having right now.
Please do.
Yeah, I just wanted to read this here. It says, it's talking about the League of Nations mandate. A League of Nations mandate was a legal status for certain territories transferred from the control of one country to another following World War I, or the legal instrument that contained the internationally agreed upon terms for administrating the territory on behalf of the League of Nations. These were the nature of both a treaty and a constitution, which contained minority right clauses that provided for the rights of petition and a just judification by the International Court. So, and this was around the same time that we're talking about. So I don't know, obviously the League of Nations would be interested in a Pan-American Conference, but maybe this is the topic matter that the Moors are dealing with that you're discussing. Peace.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Thank you for that, Brother Kanene Bey. And I am having I don't know why, but my computer wants to wig on me a little bit. I cannot click on international law and have it come up. It's coming up as a blank screen. Wow. So anyway, what I'm going to do is switch to another page that actually goes into the conference dates. And one other, let me see something, screen share this. And this actually has some of the dates. It shows from 1890, the different conferences, 1902. From here, the Pan American Treaty is where they made the agreement that they would have this kind of an alliance and have these meetings and really work within it. And it begins to put together a series of legal, it evolved, a series of legal kind of complex treaties. And this is where international law was kind of key. I'm mad I couldn't pull that up. But here it shows the conference 1928, January 16th through February 20th, 1928. And in this, it has discussion on private international law, which looks like it was dated on February 20th, 1928. I'm gonna click on this, Sister Harmony. Tell me if my page just switched just now, or are you seeing the same thing?
I am seeing Hughes' definition of Monroe Doctrine.
Perfect, it switched over, okay. So I often mention, this is where it begins to evolve into basic understandings of the laws, right? As it deals with the United States, the Moorish Science Temple of America, the plight of the Moorish Americans. I always mention a thing called the Monroe Doctrine, right? The Monroe Doctrine is essentially a set of international laws that benefits the United States that basically, you know, on his face, to me, it basically says that countries on the outside of the United States cannot interfere. Really, countries can't interfere with other countries, but specifically the United States. It's against the law to interfere with our property, right? So then if you have a group of people that fall under the status of chattel property, then other countries are tied where they cannot interfere, right? And here Hughes is defending this policy in a couple of different statements that he made. Actually, this was from the 5th Pan American Conference, but he's making a defense of this Monroe Doctrine, which the other countries kind of have a problem for. I won't go into that. I just want to introduce the thought of the Monroe Doctrine, right? So what I'm going to do, I'm actually going to switch back again now to this main file that I had in the other program. Share my screen back to here. And I want to go into this. This is actually for Moors that actually really want to understand and kind of tie all of the legal ramifications of the Moorish Science Temple of America. A lot of it is mounted in, I believe, personally, with the Prophet's trip to Havana, Cuba, and our authority as the Incorporated Moorish Science Temple of America, Incorporated in the United States. You have to understand the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, right, of 1777, which is, you know, kind of, it plays a role because it's a treaty between Morocco and the United States. You have to understand the Religious Corporations Act of 1872, which is where Heard's Revised Statute comes out, which is what the Prophet invokes when he incorporates the Moorish Science Temple of America. You should become familiar with the Treaty of Jeddah from 1927. The Treaty of Jeddah is between Great Britain and the Kingdom of Najaz and Hijaz as they come together in this treaty to form Saudi Arabia, right? Hence the reason why the Prophet has King Ibn Suwad, Abdul Ibn Suwad, in the front of the Holy Quran of the Moorish Science Temple of America. When you read into this treaty, the interesting part is that it's 1927. You know, some of the Moors, I haven't been able to fully qualify, say that right after this treaty, this brother was present at the Pan American Conference. And this has something to do with this again, we still have to verify this mandate. Like Brother Kanenbe said, I'm the type that I can't just go from hearsay. I need to see the receipts specifically. These things are receipts. These are actual agreements and laws. These are the actual dates that we can prove, right? We can prove that the Prophet was in Havana during the conference. When you look, it's very interesting. When you look at the attendance records of the Pan American Conference, it gets real tricky. You can't see much than the major attendees, right? Also, which was on that other, it was one of the documents that I just showed had the attendees. You can look up to see who was in attendance, right? Including the Secretary of State Hughes, also the president at the time. I believe it was Woodrow Wilson made an appearance, if I'm not mistaken. But the president of the United States that opened up the conference in 1928 was there for one day. When you look into the Bustamante codes, which is what I'm building up to, right? You know, the 6th Pan American Conference on Havana, Cuba is the next thing. Then you have this Bustamante code. Try to look up the Bustamante code and get a complete copy online to see what was the Bustamante code, what did it include, and see how it's not easy to get a copy. You can't just look it up and see everything that was discussed. And to me, that's really trivial. This is the legislation that was spoke on at the conference about private international law, speaks directly to nationality. And we're going to go into that now. Like Brother A. Hopkins Bey points out every year when we go to in the Trek Through History, in Philadelphia, he says that the annals, the document of the First Continental Congress, right? The meeting of the First Continental Congress, you can't get those records. Why? And when you do get them there, I think he said it was $25,000 to get a copy. And when you get the copy, it's redacted because of the statement that somehow, praise Allah, Brother Hopkins Bey was able to get the statement where George Washington says, if you take the turbans from and fezzes from their heads and the sandals from their feet, 200 years from now, their children will not know who they are or who their forefathers were, right? The Bustamante Code is very similar to that. So the Bustamante Code comes out of the Pan American Conference. So I want to read here. I think I got this from Brother Ferguson. He'll handed this to me in a folder like in 2010, and I maybe read it a year later, and because I didn't understand the relevance of it. And once I started looking for the Bustamante Code and couldn't find it, I realized the relevance of the particular document. In the Bustamante Code, in the very beginning, right, it says here, Book 1, it goes into international law, right? Title 1, it says persons. Chapter 1, nationality and naturalization. Right, adjusting the laws. So we're all these countries are here. We're trying to comb out and see how we're going to work together on different things like trademarks and patents and human rights. Right, you know what I mean? War, on top of war, we're not going to go to war with each other. We got to talk about nationality. Article 9 says, I'm going to read. It says this is the main part of this particular piece. This is the piece of the Bustamante Code is giant. This is one book, and this is a piece in the top of the book. This is the main part of this piece. Article 9, each contracting party shall apply its own law for the determination of the nationality and origin, descent name. Where does the descent of any individual, right? Or juristic person gets into corporations, right? That's not what they call, the Moors call not a natural person, it's a corporate person, right? What is the origin of the individual or the corporate person and its acquisition, loss, and recuperation thereafter, right? Determination of the nationality and origin of an individual corporate person. What happened to the national? Can they acquire it? Can they lose it? And how do they get it back thereafter? These are the rules, the new rules of the game, either within or without its territory. If it's in your territory, your state, your country, or it's out of your country. If it's an individual that belongs to your country, but he's out of the country, if he's in your country, he's from our country, these are the rules. Whenever one of the nationalities is in controversy, is that of the said state. That basically says whenever the person or corporation in controversy, in question, is that of the state, right? It's basically saying if it belongs to you or belongs to us, wherever they end up at, these are the rules. It says in all other cases, the provisions, in all other cases, right? Okay, let me specifically make this clear, right? Recuperation thereafter, either within or without its territory, whenever one of its nationalities is in controversy, is that of the state. Basically, so it's basically saying in certain situations, it's pretty straightforward. It's in your state, is of your state, and you're trying to find out, here's the part about it, determination of the national origin. It actually, okay, right here, it says, whenever one of the nationalities in this statement, one of the national, it's not saying the nationality, one of the nationalities. In the United States, you have two. This almost reads like in most countries there are two. Let me read it again to be clear, because this first part is critical to understand. Each contracting party, any country, shall apply its own laws for the determination of the nationality and origin, the descent name, and the nationality and where it came from. So if our nationality is American, but I need to know your origin, so there's another nationality I need to know of any individual or juristic person and its acquisition, right? You want to pick up a nationality, you lost the nationality, or you need to recoup. Ours is recoup. Thereafter, either within or without its territory, in the United States or in China, whenever one of the nationalities, two, in controversy, is of the said state, right? So that's what that means. When one of the two is of your state, okay, you're in the United States, one of the nationalities is he's trying to claim is Americans, and then you can rule on that, right? If one of the nationalities, you know he's American, he was born there, he or she was born there, but he's saying that he's Chinese descent, then, you know, this doesn't fit that straightforward scenario. It says in all other cases, right? When one of the nationalities is not yours, now you got a person in the United States trying to figure out who he is, and he's German Chinese, right? Then the provisions established in the remaining articles of this chapter shall apply, right? It's not as straightforward. So there's different cases. We're going to take care of every scenario. Question 10, Article 10, in question relating to the nationality of origin in the state in which they are raised is not interested, right? I'm an American, or we're in China, Chinese, they don't even care. I don't care about really, you know, trying to help this person figure out where they are. I'm not interested. It says the law of that one of the nationalities in issue in which the person concerned has his domicile shall be applied, right? So it's a Moorish American, he's in China, and China's not interested in figuring it out. Where does he live? That's the rule falls, wherever he lives, go by those rules. That's the jurisdiction, the way it works. Article 11, in the absence of that domicile, the principles accepted by the law of the trial court shall be applied in the case mentioned in the preceding article. In the case, this one is kind of tricky. In the absence of that domicile, absence of him having a place where you can tell where he lived, the principles accepted by the law of the trial court, right? The court where he popped up in that court shall be applied in the case, you know what I mean? In that particular case. Article 12, questions concerning individual acquisition of a new nationality shall be determined in accordance with the law of the nationality which is supposed to be acquired, right? That's not us, because we're not getting a new nationality. We are resuming our nationality. We are what they call redeemed. Prophet redeemed the nationality we already had. So if you want a new, I want to be a Chinese. Okay, well, you got to go by the Chinese law. Article 13, in collective naturalizations, right? Like the United States, he had a collective exodus out of Britain, or the PLO is not a collective exodus, but natural, in the collective naturalization, in that case, in the case of the independence of a state, the law of the acquiring or new, this is deep. This is deep. This speaks to our situation. The United States, you have a collective exodus from Britain, right? In the case of independence of a state, of the law of the acquiring or new state shall apply, right? The law of the acquiring a new state, if it has established in the territory an effective sovereignty which has been recognized by the state trying the issue, right? So if there's somebody in the United States, you had a collective exodus, but they are trying to become a part of the United States, but there was an established territory and an effective sovereignty. There were treaties in place. There were treaties with the British and the Indians. There were treaties with the French and the Indian nations here. So if it the United States had established in the territory an effective sovereignty, which has been recognized by the state trying the issue. So if there's an outside mediator, they're going to say, look, we recognize the Indians definitely had a treaty. It was actually recognized by Britain when they made the treaty, in France when they had the treaties. So in the absence thereof of that old state, all without prejudice, you can't just defeat them and then stomp all over their treaties and say we good. It don't work like that. Without prejudice to the contractual stipulations between the two interested states, which shall always have preference, right? Very interesting. And it continues on in different cases. I don't want to go for too long. You get the point of, in the case of the loss of nationality, this is us. The law of the lost nationality shall be applied. The law of the lost nationality, does that speak to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship? I think it does. In the case of Islam, who's that, Brother Turner Bay?
Islam.
If
you can let me chime in so people can understand the word domicile.
Yes, sir. Please do.
Islam, the 6th edition of Black Laws Dictionary. It says a person's legal home, the place where a man has his true, fixed, and permanent home and principal establishment. and to which whenever he is absent, he has the intention of returning, generally physical presence within the state and the intention to make it one's home are the requisite of establishing a domicile therein. The permanent residence of a person or the place to which he intends to return, even though he may actually reside elsewhere. A person may have more than one residence, but only one domicile. The legal domicile of a person is important since it, rather than the actual residence, often controls the jurisdiction of the taxing authorities and determines where a person may exercise the privilege of voting and their legal rights and privileges. Islam.
Thank you for adding that piece, and that actually is really, really important. Thank you, brother Turner Bay. I'm going to continue. I'm going to kind of close this out. I want to make sure to see if I can get this a few more in here. I just want to make sure the Moors see them. 14. That's the Moorish Americans. In the case of the loss of the nationality, the law of the lost nationality should be applied. And the law in relation to nationality is spoken to in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. It talks about property. If my citizens are in your country or you're in mine, or if you see our boats on the water, we'll treat this how we'll treat. In order for you to treat our boats peacefully, we're going to give enmity to your citizens, if they're here or if ours are there, right? Article 15, resumption of nationality is controlled by the law of the nationality which is presumed, right? So that both of these go in our case, goes to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship. So that's where the prophet got him. It's just like, okay, the prophet tied in. There's no strange thing that the prophet is on the scene when this is being discussed. Article 16, the nationality of origin of corporations. This goes into corporations. The nationality of origins of corporations and foundations shall be determined by the law of the state which authorizes them. The nationality of origin of associations shall be the nationality of the country in which they are constituted, right? And therein they shall be registered or recorded if such requisite is demanded by the local legislation. Hence the reason why when you incorporate businesses and whatnot, I'm not going to, the rest of this goes out with incorporation law. You know what I mean? There's a few laws about corporation of these juristic persons, right? Which is not as needed. I would say the more as you want to try to get a good copy of the Bustamante Code and study this first section. It goes into a whole bunch of other stuff. There's a whole section next on domicile. But this section on nationality is critical. I think it speaks directly to the heart of why the prophet said that you need to have a decent name in order to answer to and apply to the Constitution of the United States of America. I think in that, the question, that question is actually becomes a little bit more clear. And then we're gonna, in the next few weeks, maybe not in Sunday school, probably even on Fridays, we're gonna go into some more of these discussions about what is the legal side of the Moorish Divine and National Movement, so all of us are clear. I just wanted to start with that, the prophet's visit to Havana, Cuba for the Pan American Conference in January and February of 1928. And with that, I'm gonna open up the, actually, we don't have time for many questions. I'm gonna see if I can get one, maybe or two simple questions. Brother Clinton.
Yeah, I just wanted to mention, Grand Sheik, you know, that the United States didn't sign off on that at that conference at that time. You know, there was a few nations that was in reservation and didn't agree with it. So, you know, it's just like other international agreements we have. If you're a specific nation that you're part of doesn't sign off on a particular agreement, then you're in a kind of situation where you're within a nation. Let's say even today, let's say the UN has the resolution, everyone signed on to it except for Russia. And you live in Russia. You know what I'm saying? Even though the greater international community might have a certain view on it, it's hard for you in the sense of being a citizen of the one that doesn't agree with it. So there was a couple of nations, you know, and this dispute, and this conversation had continued from Dr. Bustamante all the way from the League of Nations to the United Nations to where we are today. These discussions on these topics still continue.
Praise Allah. Good, very good point, Brother Kaninabe. I wasn't aware of that. I will look into that as well. I know that the United States never signed, or they begrudgingly signed, if they ever did, they signed way late, the Declaration of Rights of Man, human rights legislation. that came out of Haiti and was first implemented by France, and all the other countries of the world signed it. United States basically like we didn't want to sign, which speaks to this whole thing about the Monroe Doctrine. You know, Monroe Doctrine gives you insight into why is it that these other countries didn't help us? You know, why is it that our other Asiatic nations didn't help us? Brother Clinton?
If you don't mind, I'd like to read two responses, one from the United States and one from the Dominican Republic.
Please.
And because, you know, when all the things that you mentioned in certain national boundaries, you don't want to give up certain rights or certain things you control in an international level. It's always been a struggle. You know what I'm saying? That, you know, there might be an international thought, but you as a state, China, you as the United States, you as Mexico, you as Britain might not want to conform to certain thoughts. But here was the United States response. It says, reservation made upon approval of the convention. It says the delegation of the United States of America regrets very much that it is unable at the present time to approve the code of Dr. Bustamante as in view of the Constitution of the United States of America, the relations among the states members of the Union, and the powers and functions of the federal government. It finds it very difficult to do so. The government of the United States firmly maintains its intention not to dissociate itself from Latin America, and therefore, in accordance with Article 6 of the Convention, which permits any government to adhere later thereto, it will make use of the privilege extended by this article in order that after carefully studying the code and all its provisions, it may be able to adhere to at least a large portion thereof. For these reasons, the delegation of the United States of America reserves its vote in hope that it has been stated an adherent party to the considerable number of code provisions. And so I just thought that was very interesting. And let me see if I could pull up the one from Dominican Republic.
Islam. Yes. What year was that one?
This was actually at the convention itself. So they had this thing that they presented, and it was voted upon. And certain states voted it in, but certain states reserved. The United States here seems to be taking a position like they're not going to say yes to it, but reserve the right to say or determine later what to do. Let me just read this before I get right back to you. So the Dominican Republic reservation made at the time of signature. So this is actually at the time this is happening. The delegation of the Dominican Republic desires to maintain the supremacy of its national law in all questions relating to the status, capacity of the Dominicans, wherever they may be, and for this reason, it cannot accept or accepts with reservation those provisions of the code which, according to supremacy of the law of the domicile or to the local law, all this withstanding the conciliatory principles of both set forth in Article 6 of the project, in which Article 53 of the same is application. So I'm not going to go further, but what I'm saying is they was just formulating these laws that the Grand Sheik was mentioning, all these different things that's going on. And so this was 80 something years ago. So this discussion has continued. Even the Laws and Nationality Act of the United States, international law itself has continued to grow. But this is some of the foundation that they were talking about. Peace.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Brother Turner Bay, I'm gonna get your comment real quick, and then we're gonna go into the Quran. I got one other quick piece of info I'm gonna put on a statement on a record, Brother Turner Bay.
Yeah, first I'd like to commend and thank the AGS for that statement, but he still didn't tell me which year was that from.
He said that was at the conference. That was 1928.
Oh, that was okay.
He said it was
Islam, Brother C. Coel. Can I say this 1 second?
Islam, Brother Coel.
Yeah, I am in accordance with brother. First, I want to give praises to Allah, honors to his prophet, and everything the Moorish Science Temple of America played my part. As the brother Clinton Bay has put, these things that you're talking about in treaty, they was evolving. Like man ideal evolved, his God evolved. So they was evolving because if you go back to the Erie Railroad thing, they done took it off the gold standard. Now the word civil alludes to the word citizen. Now the prophet had to do it in a few ways. He did it religiously, and he did it with the law itself, the way he brought the nationality, because they had the old rule, just sanguinis, the right of the blood, and just soli, the right of the soil. That's your docile. That's your legal docile, your resident. And remember, they had duality. Now, if you go to a case called Wong Song, it's another case about citizenship, where these Chinese had a kid over here, and they was going back and forth to China. And the United States said, nah, man, y'all ain't no citizen. You want to stop what Clendenin Bay was just talking about. They had the right to stop it. It's called the Wong Song case. I can't remember exactly what date, but it's a Supreme Court case. And it talks about 25 pages of citizenship, right? And you got to keep in mind, when you look at the Moorish Science Temple of America, it's considered a corporation, a legal, it's a person, an entity in itself, as opposed when the prophet did it. So you got a few things you got to look at when you're looking at these documents, not saying that they're wrong, but what it evolved into today that protects your nationality. Otherwise, they wouldn't have been doing what they was doing, sending these people back, transporting them back as quick as they was, and they were sticking to those laws that we were just talking about. So some other things is going on, and we have been blessed to not be molested by it because they got off the gold standard. And that's when they got off the gold standard and they made the corporation a person, something really changed drastically. Islam.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Thank you for that, Brother Coel. In closing, I want to say, bringing it back to even modern cases and speaking to what was just said, the conversation, I was looking into recently blacklisting law, right? Blacklisting, the practice of banning people for, with prejudice from certain industries. In Britain, the same way Britain and France, the United Kingdom, actually in France, were implementing human rights laws before the Declaration of Human Rights before the United States did. The United States was slow. That slavery was abolished in those countries before it was in the United States, when you look into the history. Britain already has very firm laws on blacklisting, but in the United States right now at this moment, there's some type of refusal to have any type of legislation to protect from it. So, it's interesting. But these are the reasons why we as citizens, we have to, this is what our job is, to say, look, we need to have certain better laws in place and we need to push for certain things. And this is what they were doing from the time of the prophet until now. With that, Moors, I want to at least speak to the opening of the chapter for this week out of the Quran. And I'm going to ask if Sister Harmony Bay can read, Sister Harmony can read the chapter for us. It's a short chapter. I want to have at least a brief discussion about chapter number 28 on page 38, which is entitled The Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Master, and Servant. There's 9 instructions. Sis, if you can read that into the record, and then we can have a real short discussion about it.
Islam, praise and honor already given. The chapter, Holy Instructions from the Prophet, Master, and Servant. Instruction 1, repine not, O man, at the state of servitude. It is the appointment of Allah and hath many advantages. It removeth thee from cares and solicitudes in life. The honor of a servant is his fidelity. His highest virtues are submission and obedience. Be patient, therefore, under the reproofs of thy master, and when he rebuketh thee, answer not again. The silence of thy resignation shall not be forgotten. Be studious of his interests, be diligent in his affairs, and faithful to the truth, to the trust which he reposeth in thee. Thy time and thy labor belong unto him. Defraud him not, therefore he payeth thee from them. And thou who art a master, be just to thy servant, if thou expecteth from him fidelity, and reasonable in thy commands, if thou expecteth ready obedience. The spirit of a man is in him, severity and rigor may create fear, but can never command love. Mix kindness with reproof, and reason with authority. So shall thy admonitions take place in his heart, and his duty shall become his pleasure.
He shall serve thee faithfully from the motive of gratitude. He shall obey thee cheerfully from the principle of love, and fail thou not in return to give his diligence and fidelity their proper reward. Peace.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Thank you for reading that for us, sister. So I always like to open up a new chapter with just the unwrapping, right? The topical things. And I will say a couple of things, and I will see if anyone has any comments. I'm going to pause and see if any other has a comment or maybe can answer the question that I initially will point out in terms of master and servant. You know, you got to wonder. I always start off by saying, okay, so what did the prophet want us to get from the particular chapter? And if we have a chapter called magistrate and subject, and then you have a chapter called master and servant, it's like, why is that even there? That's some strong language, especially speaking to Asiatics of America, right? In this time. Thank you, Brother Kanina Bey. I wanted you to chime in first. Like, what is that about for somebody that might see master and say, hold up?
Exactly. I mean, Grand Sheikh, Islam, you know, that's like you got to talk about that before you can even get into the chapter.
That's right.
Because if I see a word and it puts me in a negative vibration, I won't be able to bring out the positive part, the lesson. And with us having this kind of concept of, no one's my master, you know what I'm saying? Because that comes out of our experience in slavery. And what was the European trying to say when he was trying to come across as the master? Because these words was around before slavery. See, this concept of master and servant is in no way supposed to be a negative concept. You see, the master in no way is trying to take advantage of the servant. And the servant is all he's trying to do is serve his master. You know, it's like sometimes I'm praying and I think about the part where it says in chapter 4, their master went that way and left his footprints clearly cut.
Right.
So when I pray, I give honor to the prophet. I give honor to my master. Prophet Noble Drew Ali is my master.
Islam.
And the best way I've seen Asiatics understand that term is brothers or sisters that have entered the martial arts. Because when you enter the martial arts, usually you're dealing with someone that's an Asiatic. And maybe we let our guard down and are willing to accept that Master Sifu, you know what I'm saying, is teaching me Kung Fu, or Master Sin is teaching me Japanese. And then I understand, and I have no problem of bowing with a white belt on, bowing to my master. You see what I'm saying? And I never look at it in anything negative. I look at it that he has a duty, responsibility to raise me up to be a master.
Right.
You know what I'm saying? And I have the servant and be fidelity as a servant of the master. Wow. So that's always how I start off the conversation, because I feel like the Asiatic of America starts off this lesson in the whole, in a sense. Yeah. And we got to bring them by top of the ground. And like, now we're not, any concept you have of a master that's negative, let's just put that in a different area, because it has nothing to do with what we're talking about here. Peace.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. It's almost like the European and the situation that we went into polluted the true meaning of the word master. You know, in the ancient times, they had masterminds, right? If you master a thing, you deserve a title. I remember my grandmother, Virginia Davis, used to write, when I was younger, I could have swore she used to send my birthday card. My grandmother never misses a birthday, never missed a birthday, birth date. She would always send my cards with the word master, like it meant Mr. Joseph Davis, you know, Master Joseph Davis. I don't know if anyone else. Islam.
Yeah, when you are a young man, you're known as the master, and then when you get older, you're known as the mister. And my mother used to do the same thing. My grandmother, when you're a young man, they address you as master so-and-so, but then when you come of age, you get your mister. Peace.
Islam. Thank you for clarifying that again. I think you explained that one time before. So that's the definition got polluted. I would also say that, and let me say with a disclaimer, and then I'm gonna open up the floor with a disclaimer, these statements before I make the final one. I'm gonna make a three-part kind of a statement. And the first one is, I believe that master and servant actually shows how to fit in a scenario where you are in a protocol, right? Where the person you have to answer to someone that's above you. If these are the mechanics of a government. Remember, this chapter is talking about from 20 to 30 is building our government like a block, like an engine, right? So one of the things is the cogs of the motor have to work right. Protocol. Magistrate and subject actually speaks to the person who's at the head and anybody who may just be a common person. You might not be in the government. You're just a citizen. The citizen should be this way. The head of the government should think this way, right? It doesn't speak to the mechanics of interdepartmental mechanics. Master and servant, I believe, speaks to interdepartmental mechanics. Remember, this is part of my disclaimer. This is why it reads funny, but when you actually look at the lessons, the principles that it speaks of on the inside, they're very practical. I believe they're the mechanics I learned in the corporate world. I learned some of the stuff the hard way. That this is protocol. It doesn't matter. Like, you're not supposed to reply to your senior. Like, you want to play around and lose your job, write another letter to your boss, write another letter to your, around your boss. You know what I mean? Somebody who I don't even like the word boss. I'm an entrepreneur, but I'm not stubborn. I know when I got to play the role. I might not say boss, but I know how to act like a employee, right? So there's some principles in it, but then this is the harsh part of the third part of the statement. Remember, the prophet said in that divine warning by the prophet for the nations, he said, if not, the worst is yet to come. And I would almost put this, may not be what the prophet thought, but this is how I would think. You always got to think of the worst case scenario. Prophet said, if you're not careful, your own brothers will lead you back into slavery. What if the prophet said, look, this is a rough ride, and the Moors, victory is sure, but the Moors might collapse again a little further and end back up in that similar scenario in this country. He said, if the Europeans be fair, you'll have an Asiatic president and a European vice president and vice versa. If the European be fair, what if he's not? And if we didn't, we still have to be able to understand, possibly, this is maybe an extreme interpretation on Brother Cyrus Hill's point, any mistakes or errors, blame them on me. Don't blame them on the prophet or the temple. But even in those worst case scenarios, the prophet is saying, just don't come to pieces. Just realize how to get through it without coming to pieces. So I don't know what, that's a thought that crossed my mind standing here while Islam,
Grand Sheik. Yeah, Grand Sheik. I want to try to break it down in two areas. We know the one area, and I think you mentioned it in the mastermind. We hear throughout the Quran, even Jesus referred to as a master of the Royal Council of the Silent Brotherhood. We look at Casper and these other masters. So on a religious level, you have a member of a religious sect, let's say. You had them rise up to be a faithful member. They rise up to become a priest or a minister. And at some point, they become a master. And then after you continue rising as a master, you become what they call a sublime master or Adam. You rise to become a mastermind. So it's different levels of being a master. But in that concept, it's about raising each other up and understanding the role that each person plays in whatever stage they find themselves. Now, on another level, it's like in the trades. Back in the day, if you was a master carpenter, you would gain an apprentice. This apprentice would actually live with you, you know what I'm saying? And he would start to learn his craft until the point where that apprentice rises up and is able to produce a masterpiece for the master to let him know he's ready for his journey. So in that sense, it's kind of transferring of information, of whether you're a carpenter or you're even nowadays a plumber. You see people have a master plumber's license, a master electrical license, saying that you reach that height, and then you raise up apprentices that come under you until they become a master. So I was looking at it as dealing with our trade world as well as our religious world. And I mentioned to you before about the martial arts piece.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. Thank you for that insight, Brother Kanene Bey. Anyone else, Brother Turner Bey?
Islam.
Brother Turner Bey, let me see real quick. Let's see what the hands are on the queue first, brother man. Let me just make sure we didn't skip over anyone. Sister Harmony?
Islam. Thank you, Grand Sheik. We did. Brother P. Volquez Il has had his hand up for quite some time.
Praise Allah. Praise Allah. We go to Brother Vocazil. Anyone else have a comment at this point? I'm gonna do 2 or 3 more max, and then we're gonna close out. I'm gonna borrow from Sister Dunbar Bay always says 3 hands, and if it gets interesting while somebody's talking, it's a close conversation. Anyone else? Brother we're gonna go to Vocazil, Turner Bay. Anyone else?
Brother Anderson Bay has his hand up.
Brother Anderson Bay, and that'll be it. Brother Vocazil?
Islam.
Islam.
Brother Anderson, I'm sorry, I'm going to go to Vocazil, Turner Bay, and Anderson in that order. Brother Vocazil will be first.
Islam. I just I had a few comments actually, but I'll just start with the one that's present at the moment. Chapter 28, the first instruction, it says, "Repine not, O man, at the state of servitude," the mental state. It is the appointment of Allah, and has many advantages. It removes thee from cares and solitudes in life. I just wanted to make a point of focus.
Brother Vocazil, I'm not taking the floor from you. I just want to clarify. Solicitudes means people soliciting. They were trying to sell you something because they know you have money. So if you're the servant, you don't have that problem. People coming up, hey, trying to pitch you all day long. All right, keep going.
With their own, solicitudes in whatever form or fashion, as in whatever they develop from out their mind. But if you're appointed by Allah, you're a servant to Allah. And that's the state of mind. I just wanted to make a point of that.
So let me just say real quick again, very quickly. States come in many forms, right? You have a state of mind. You have a situation. It might not be in your mind, but you are in a state of slavery. You found yourself in this predicament. It's a physical state. You can find yourself in a location, right? As well as a situation, location. So I would say when you read it, it doesn't expressly say the mental state. To me, I'm reading this at the situational state of servitude. You got a job, you got to get this paycheck. So look, this boss is not a nice boss, but I need this. You got to get this paycheck. So that's the state you found yourself stuck in, right? So keep going. Brother
I also wanted to what's the word I'm looking for? What the Grand Sheikh, Brother Clendenin Bey had mentioned about the 50-year mandate thing. That goes back to the Treaty of Peace and Friendship signed the 28th of June, 1786 under Article 5.
Brother,
I just wanted to make that comment, and with that I say peace.
Praise Allah. I want to hear that comment. I just want to stay on the subject for this. I'm going to ask if Brother Ferguson, if we can pick that up during secretary time. I'm going to come to you first, okay? Islam, brother man.
Islam.
And brother Turner Bay, a quick comment, and then brother, who do we have after that? Brother, we have one more. Brother Anderson Bay.
Islam. I just would like to say, I've wrestled with this chapter for a long time. It was nothing a brother could tell me about what it was saying, right? Because like the brother said, the HES said, it brings out certain words, bring out emotion, right? And if your state of mind is not, in a loving place, it's gonna rouse up the emotion. And us being, emotional people, emotionally driven people, mostly, and we hear offensive things that keep us in a state that we really don't want to be in, right? It just rubbed me the wrong way, and I'll be going at it with brothers like, yo, but it took me a minute to sit with the words and then look them up, and see the different etymologies and where the prophet, because I know the prophet ain't saying what I'm feeling, You understand what I'm saying? And you have to deal with reality. Like you just said, Brother Grand Sheik, you just said you might find yourself in a situation, right? Because we didn't have personally nothing to do with our status that happened back then, right? But we're in a situation, right? So now in this situation, it doesn't mean that you cannot, get that yoke up off your neck. It doesn't mean that, right? So when you first reading it, that's what it means. It means, well, you want me to sit here and allow people to, you know what I'm saying? That's what goes through the mind of, someone who's very passionate and see these words and it's offensive, right? But again, like the brother said, you gotta ease people in so they can come with the comprehension of what he's trying to say. Like you said, when you got a job and you going to work, your boss is really that's the one who's paying your paycheck. He's giving you the money. So that's the point of you're a servant, because you're serving the needs of the person that owns that business, right? And looking at it in that aspect, you can more so comprehend what is really trying to say. And then when you said like I like when you pointed out to the brother Voquaz Ill, and I like to say Islam for his thoughts. When you said the solicitudes of life, like you're poor, you in a state of being poor. So in a state of being poor, you're in a state of damn near a beggar nation. You're a beggar nation for real, because you have to work with somebody else to gain your finances, right? Because we know finance is the order of the day. You know what I'm saying? So without finances, you have no nation. You know what I'm saying? It takes finances to save a nation. So, and like you, Brother Grand Sheik, I like to say in Islam, you always say, like I say, unity. Without unity, it ain't gonna happen. So we need those two things, along with the spiritual ness to right our conduct. Because like you mentioned before, you want a get out of jail free card, and that's what put me at odds with a lot of people doing them sovereignty and all that. You know what I'm saying? Like you are dead wrong. You know what I'm saying? So if you don't have no moral compass, you're not even gonna comprehend that. You understand what I'm saying? Right. But then again, playing devil's advocate, I understand, like, who's to determine when you have, when you're forgiven. But that was determined when you had a contract and you got sentenced, right? So now you got to accept the contract that, the construct of your creation, because your actions define where you at, your present condition. Mm. There's a process to where you can come up out that condition, but there's many organizations and people that don't want you to come about that. You know what I'm saying? So it's not to say that you don't have opposition to you being conscious of yourself and conscious awareness. There's always going to be a folk, that stay back there, stay broke, so we can live off you. That's always going to be there. You know what I'm saying? I just wanted to state that, that I did wrestle with this a long time until I had to, just humble myself. You know what I'm saying? And look at it with a different eye of just accepting reality. Mm-hmm. Oh, I just wanted to say before I go, I'm sorry. The brother, what was his name? Cole.
Brother C. Cole L.
Yeah, he stated something about the Erie case.
Let's go again. Let's go into the legal portion of it at the secretary time. I'm gonna come back to you on that statement so we can build on that as well, Brother Turner Bay. Is that okay?
Islam, no problem, Grand Sheik.
Praise Allah. But a very good point that the first point that you made is a very good one. It reminds me of taking responsibility, look in the mirror, and then admit that we this is the state you're in. If you're in denial, then you're gonna have a problem. And it's the difference between Booker T. Washington's approach and Frederick Douglass's approach. Booker T. Washington wasn't really looked at well from Frederick Douglass's standpoint. And I'm more on Frederick Douglass's side of thinking, because Booker T. Washington was trying to basically say, look, we got to start from somewhere. And when you hit the ground, you got to climb back up. You got to humble yourself to climb back up. But it was maybe not the right approach. So, and that speaks to this chapter. I want to go to Brother Anderson Bay. He's going to be the last word on this. And I'm going to call our chairman back up to the roster. My brother Anderson Bay makes his point as well. Praise Allah. Peace, more.
Islam.
Islam.
First, I'll yield to any of the sisters out there who haven't had a chance to speak and would like to say something.
Praise Allah.
Thank you, Brother Anderson Bay. There are currently no hands raised by our sisters, but we appreciate you. Praise Allah.
Islam.
All right. So for me, I'm gonna just keep it really simple, Grand Sheik. As I look at this chapter, there's some really powerful things, some attributes that, someone who is truly grateful to serve the great God Allah, who never made hard terms for me, right? One is, the honor of a servant is his fidelity. His highest virtues are submission and obedience. As a social worker, those are strengths. Those are high qualities. I have no resistance. My spirit has no resistance to it all. Because I understand, I have a lot of reference points of what life was like in my carnal self. So, and it's a lot harder to live a life in my carnal self than this spiritual life, right? So one of the great virtues that one of the things that we're given is I feel like I'm benefiting from is this abundance of love, man. Just love, just unconditional love. And it goes down further in the 8th. So the 6th, 7th, and 8th instructions. And thou who art a master, be just to thy servant, if thou expecteth from him fidelity, and reasonable in thy commands, if thou expecteth ready obedience. The spirit of a man is in him. Severity and rigor may create fear, but can never command love. Mix kindness with reproof, and reason with authority. So thy admonitions take place in his heart, and his duty shall become his pleasure. And the reason why I'm getting really excited about this is because I've been blessed by Allah to be able to work with the young people, those who know what I do.
Islam.
And
Allah.
So many of our young people that are so used to a heavy hand that they get used to being everything is a heavy touch. And then when you come with something softer, they wonder what's wrong. They become conditioned to the heaviness of the hand. And so through these divine teachings and this divine movement and through these lessons, I've been able to mix kindness with reproof for the benefit that young people may be able to navigate life outside of the criminal legal system. And with that, I say peace. And it's so good to be with the Moors. Islam.
Islam.
Allah.
Islam.
Islam.
First, I rise and give praise to Allah, Father of the universe. Give honor to Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Give honor to everything pertaining to Islam. I'd like to thank everyone for their participation in the class. I'd like to thank the Grand Sheik for conducting the class. I'd like to thank all the members for their participation in the class. Because the Prophet said, if I can get you to think, you can save yourself. So it's a beautiful thing that when you can go into these instructions and extract certain things and apply them, you got to employ them. That's the Prophet said, employ it. You got to put it to work, and you're going to be tested. So you know what I'm saying? Even on the job, you're going to be tested. Even when we do certain things, we're going to be tested. Because we have the test, without a foe, so they never know the strength. Let me just close out, and then I'll open up the floor after for additional questions. I read the warning. Divine warning by the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Prophet warned all Muslims, governors, ordered to read proclamation at each meeting. I hereby inform all members that they must end all radical, agitating speeches while at work, in their homes, on the streets. We are for peace and not destruction. Stop flashing your cards at Europeans. It causes confusion. Remember, your card is for your salvation. Failure by these orders will be of severe consequence. We are for love, true peace, freedom, and justice. And when these principles are violated, justice must then take its course. Any member or group of members who harm malicious feelings towards the temple or the prophet or violate the divine covenant of the Moorish movement will receive their reward from Allah for their unjust deeds. All true Moors will and must obey the law as laid unto them by their prophet. If they lose confidence in their prophet, they should turn in their cards and button, cease wearing their turbans and fez, and return to the state where I, the prophet, found you. This is a holy and divine movement founded by the prophet Noble Drew Ali. And the prophet is not right, the temple is not right. The prophet therefore is sending out the divine plea to all Moorish Americans that they do their part in protecting their prophet and the temple. It's an everlasting movement founded by the prophet to the will of Allah to redeem his people from their sinful ways by order of Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Peace.
Peace.
We're gonna put the information on the screen, and then we can continue the conversation. I just want to say one thing. That these lessons allow us to renew acts and amend our ways.
Mm-hmm.
You know, that's one of the keys that the prophet tells us: renew our acts and amend our ways. So you know, even when we go through certain things, renew our acts and amend our ways.
Mm-hmm. We'll see if we have any
Brother,
announcements, guests.
do we have any guests on the line?
We do have a few guests if they would like to announce themselves.
Yeah, announce themselves, then we can go into the question. Go ahead.
Islam, you have Simone Hamilton on the line.
Islam. Who was that? One more time, sister.
Simone Hamilton.
Simone.
Simone Hamilton.
No, Simone.
Simone. Oh,
Simone.
Sam. Simone Hamilton. Praise Allah. Sister, welcome, Sister Hamilton, Sister Simone, to the call. You actually were on our Thursday call, I think a week ago.
Yes.
And Islam, and maybe a couple of the calls, and she came in through Instagram, through Sister Harmony, I believe. Praise Allah, and welcome to the meeting. You have any questions, sis?
No, I'm happy to learn. I'm sitting here, I'm taking in all the information.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah. Islam, welcome.
Welcome.
I also want to just say welcome and to say thank you for joining us, because I get messages all the time from the Moors who are interested, and they see different things that I post about the Moorish Science Temple. And I'm just so thrilled when someone actually makes it onto the call and is taking notes. So please feel free to reach out to me, Sister Hamilton. I am happy to answer any questions you might have and to just keep you connected, because we definitely need more sisters in this movement. With that, I say peace.
Peace.
Thank you.
Peace. Praise Allah.
Who's the next person? Next guest.
Islam, I see someone speaking, but we cannot hear you. Can you unmute your mic? Let's see, you are unmuted. Is it your volume?
You see her name, Sister Harmony?
Sister DG? We can't hear you.
Islam. Sister DG, if you are able to unmute your mic, you can just jump in at any point. We're going to go into announcements. Anyone have any announcements?
Actually, 3 guests. There was 2 guests or 3.
Well, was there another guest, Sister Harmony?
Islam, that's my sister. Her name is Danielle, and something's going on with her computer, but she's on the line as well.
Praise Allah. Sister Danielle was also Sister Simone Hamilton and Sister Danielle. I want to say her name was, what's the brother? The brother from Washington, D.C., Gaither. Danielle Gaither, I think is her last name. Is that the one, Sister Simone?
Yes, that's my sister Danielle Gaithers, and we're both from Baltimore, Maryland. And we look forward to actually joining you guys' temple.
Praise Allah.
Praise
Wow.
Oh, Islam.
Islam. We welcome
Wow, praise Allah.
you. Our AGS from Baltimore. Go ahead, brother AGS. You beat me to the punch. Go ahead. Tell them.
No, I had a couple of sisters on the line from Baltimore the other night. Praise be to Allah. And also, Sister Harmony, I see a Sam, Pam, something like that. You see that?
Sister Simone. She was the first person to announce herself.
Oh, okay. Praise Allah.
They came.
And Grand Sheik.
Islam AGS.
I mean, if you don't mind, just for the vibration, I like just go over all the names I see here, because some of the Moors that they're not new, but they were on the call, and I see them, and I see Sister Elberry Bay, Sister B. Reeves Bay, Sister V. Dupree Bay. I see Shaheen Al-Zahil. I see Brother Paris Miles Bay, Brother J. Peters Eel, Brother J. Coleman Eel, Anubis King, Sister J. Jordan Eel, Sister. I'm just saying all the people we haven't heard from today, but praise Allah to have all the Moors out today. Peace.
Praise Allah. Thank you, AGS.
Islam. And Sister Danielle, if you're able to unmute, whenever you're able to unmute to say Islam, you may be having technical difficulties. Maybe this call is acting up a little bit. We had our chairman was also having problems with her microphone, not her mic, but her earpiece. We welcome you. Are there any other? Was there a third person, Sister Harmony?
Does Sister Dupree Bay want to speak?
Sister Dupree Bay is not a member. She's a regular member. So we were going with just visitors. But I would love it if Sister Dupree Bay would want to come on and say something, or even if Brother Coel wanted to come on and introduce Brother Coel to the Moors that just got familiar with you today. Let them know how long you've been attending at 34 and a little bit about your walk. Be very quickly, and then we're going to go into the couple of questions. Peace.
Islam.
Sister
Dupree Bay.
Unmute yourself, Uncle Coel.
Oh, Sister Dupree Bay, I was calling her.
Islam. This brother C. Coel.
Islam, Brother Coel.
Can you hear me, Sheik?
Islam, big brother, I can hear you, and I need to hear from you.
Man.
Hang on, though. You got a sister. I think the sister Dupree.
Oh, okay. I don't want to jump in front of anybody.
Her voice.
She dropped off, Grand Sheik. I don't see her any longer.
Go ahead, Brother Coel. Praise Allah.
Islam Moors, especially to your new members. Since I've been there, I see that it grew quantum leaps. And you hear some things. One thing about the Moor Science Temple of America, it's for everybody, but everybody ain't for Moor Science Temple of America. And sometimes I was listening that there's really no controversy. It's just where your level of understanding is at with certain things. And in this, I learned to not look for differences, but look for similarities, which will identify the differences.
Yes,
you
sir.
see? Because the prophet, he ain't come with the controversy. When you telling the brother, he say Islam just means peace, but peace in itself means the reconciliation of the earth and the heavens. And it has the law involved that's where we're trying to find peace at. Yes. So sometimes you might have the front part of the knowledge, I might have the middle, you might have the back, but it's all on the same page if you but know it. It just depends where you at along the way. As the brother was telling you, there are different degrees of the master. You understand? But the prophet says, is not the master of the house more honorable than the walls? So it starts with Allah first. And the student don't choose the master chooses the student. We must get to understand that too. You understand what I'm saying? So I walked with a lot of Moors that's ancient. Walked behind the walls over 15 years with them. You hear me? And I talk about ancient Moors. So I hear some ancient things being said, but they're not in their right context. And that's why I just put up the Airy Railroad. I just do something out there so the brothers can trace it down, because the things changed along. But man, the prophet, he said, I went around my elbow to get to my thumb to establish what I want in this government. See, he ain't just do one thing. He did a few things, and they can't get us out. No matter how much some Moors cut up, do some craziness, they can't forfeit the charter. You hear me? See, because if you look at the charter itself, it's moving in the corporation vein or bloodline too, as opposed as it moving from a physical point, but it's more spiritual in nature. That's why it got us. We don't got it, it got us.
That's
out.
right.
So I'm be saying, when I'm listening to the Moors, man, when y'all giving up this knowledge, man, and you're searching and you're reading, sometimes just look for what the similarities of the brothers and the sisters are saying. So this way you don't get caught that I'm no more than you and you know more than me, or I'm challenging you and you challenging me. That's not what it is. That's a myth. You hear me? So, and I'm just saying to move it along because the temple has grown. I can see that. So I want somebody, when you understand where Koil coming from, I'm just adding on. I ain't come to cause no disruption, no confusion. I'm just to give my little portion of what I got. You understand what I'm saying? So in that portion, I'm going to give it because I'm going to give it willingly. He said, will love and don't demand love in return. I ain't going to demand nothing back from you. You know what I mean? Allah already blessed me, keeping me alive. So and with that more, I'm just saying, all your new sister, younger sister, older, younger brothers, man, look, stop looking for the differences. Look for the similarities and the lessons, and you're going to see some things. Because there's concentric circles in the Moor Science Temple of America, circles within circles. Some of you ain't going to be able to get close to some of the inner circles. But if you are faithful and you earn it faithful, then you will get there. And I ain't just talking about because you went through third heaven. I'm talking about another initiation that's happening. So when you reach that point, then you say something to Koil, because I'm not looking for that different stuff. I'm looking for what we got in common.
That's
and
right.
the best place to meet what's in common is in the hearts, the inner heart.
That's right.
Then talk to me about what Allah say. You understand what I'm saying? Otherwise, it's just that ventriloquist work. You know what I mean? Sounding good. So keep that out of your hearts. I say this to you because I've been up against it for years. I know how you dismantle it, and it holds us back. But if we look what we got in common.
Right.
He in the first grade, I'm in the second grade. Okay.
Right.
He in the third grade. We all in school still. From the everlasting to the past to the never-ending days to come, this gospel will go. So you can't tell me who's gonna be better than who. Just serve the next of kin. That's it. Thank you. Islam.
Islam. Islam, brothers. Koil, praise Allah.
Islam, that's the treat I've been wanting. Islam. Islam, Brother Ferguson.
Let me just say this. Communicate to the ignorant for the instruction, communicate to the wise for their own improvement.
Islam.
So praise Allah. Go ahead, Grand Sheikh.
I was gonna say that was the treat that I wanted more to be able to see. One of the many treats, you know what I mean, to hear Brother Koil, you know, always when he was in on Friday. And Brother Koil, you got to text me your number. I make sure I have your updated number. But I was waiting for the Moors to basically get a chance to hear your spirit, you know. So praise Allah. Thank you for those words, big brother. Peace and love.
Brother Bo Cashiel.
Wow.
Islam. That's beautiful.
Beautiful.
I had two questions, but they're real quick. It had to do with the lesson today. How does High German figure into going down to Cuba, a Moorish, Latin, Spanish-speaking country? That Brother C. Kirkman Bey was chosen to go down to demonstrate with the Prophet. And then my second question was in regards to, you know, when Brother Clendenin Bey had, it's not a question, it's a comment. Hopefully it provides some sort of answer that we can further, you know, explore. But in the Treaty of Peace and Friendship, there's an Article 25 that states, this treaty shall continue in full force with the help of God for 50 years. I had read somewhere else that it was perpetual, like it would re-up every 50 years. So that I just wanted to connect with Brother Clendenin Bey in regards to what that mandate for the land meant. You know, try to dig deeper into that, if that makes any sense. And with that, say peace.
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 Brother AGS. Brother Kennedy Bay?
Islam, Brother Kundin Bey has also dropped off.
All right, okay.
Islam.
We
Islam.
have a hand up by Brother J. Coleman Eel and Brother A. Serrano Bay.
All right, I got Brother Turner Bay, because I think he was on there, then I get,
The brother had a question, actually.
yeah, question.
Brother Wocas had asked the question.
Yes. You want to answer the question more?
Yeah, I mean,
All
let's
right.
at least speak to that.
That's what I was calling Brother Kennedy Bay, because it was addressed
To the mandate. The
to the
second question
mandate.
was to the mandate. I'll speak to the first one. I was looking at, when you asked the second one, I was looking at something for the first one. First question is, I'm gonna go ahead and answer and say, I do not know, right? I don't know exactly. When you look, but you know, just exercise and just my senses based on thinking about I never thought about that before, right? That's why I don't know. When you read it, Prophet never says anyone that can speak Spanish. He says anyone that can speak foreign languages. And then when Sister Lovett Ill brought Brother Kirkman Bay in, the Prophet asked, can you speak High German? And when the Brother Kirkman Bay said yes, he pulled out the book. So maybe the Prophet he had a book that comes from High German. Then you got a sub context of what is High German, what's going on with Germany, you know, in the Moors, that the Prophet would have this book, you know, and that's a whole other that I can speak to, but I wouldn't do it without carefully, you know, dialing up all of my information so I can make sure that I'm exact. But he wanted someone that can interpret the book. And the Prophet was satisfied, satisfied with his ability to read from that book. Later on, probably the entire book was interpreted with him during the following relationship with Brother Kirkman Bay on a trip to Havana, Cuba. And we know later on that Brother Kirkman Bay traveled with the Prophet Noble Drew Ali around the country from state to state. He was with the Prophet from that point forward very often. So I don't know, but I would think that it has something to do with that book. Peace.
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 Islam.
Islam, Brother Turner Bay.
Yeah, I was like Brother Cole L. I like the spirit. Definitely reminds me of the brothers I was behind the wall with, Brother Seals Bay, Void Ill, Gohan Bay, Outlaw Bay, you know, some very old Moors. And that case was prominent, that Erie versus Tompkins case. That, you know, it's like it's a landmark case. And it too is very extensive in reading. But you know, the bottom line of it, it made contracts the overall, like it made contracts the overall law in all situations. So void a contract, the law was left open, but when you have a contract, it made it paramount to anything else that was going on, you know. And I also wanted to speak about wanted to ask the brother Grand Sheik Islam. Are we what you said?
No, I was just saying praise Allah. I'm listening for the question, actually, beloved.
Also I wanted to say that demonstration that you put on the screen, I'm trying to remember what it was, where it had the articles. I remember going through those articles again, but I left so much to the brothers behind the yellow wall that, you know, it escapes me. You know, a lot of information. When you retain a lot of information, you escape me. So could you send me the link to that so I can read it again and go over what I'm going with right now? Right.
Absolutely. I'll say this, that Bustamante code, I'll say it again, is really hard to get details on. It's hard to get details on the Pan American Conference. I told the Moors, I always tell the Moors, Brother Ferguson gave me that copy that I have. I scanned it in so I can send a digital copy, but Brother Ferguson probably has physical copies still.
Yeah, it's fine, Moors. I got some copies, so Moors wanted that. Make sure you get it.
Praise Allah.
That's the master, right? That's one of the masters.
And that's one of that's come from Brother T. Williams Bay, T. Williams Bay, because he did a lot of research, and he used to bring it to me, and we always made a whole lot of copy and pass it out to the brothers.
Okay.
Bustamante code.
That makes sense.
He was, and he's a good researcher.
TW baby, he likes to go by now.
Yeah, TW baby. Yeah, Williams baby. Yeah.
Praise Allah.
And last but not least,
We gotta get the other people in more.
Wait,
Let
the brother complete. Pardon.
Who was that, Sister Silzil?
It's no interruption to our dear brother. I didn't realize he was pausing.
Islam, we wanted to just make sure we caught that voice. Islam, but turn the bay. Thanks, sis.
I just wanted to make reference to what you said about finding certain records about history. You know, specifically, you know, us in history is kept out of a lot of records. Like even John Hanson, you know, is kept out of. They said Obama was the first so-called black president, right? And that flabbergasted me knowing about John Hanson, and then them, you know, painting a mural of John Hanson looking more pale than he was brown. You know what I'm saying? So it's just sometimes it frustrates individual truth seeker when he's trying to search certain things, and you go and like you said, that letter that you read and it was redacted. Like it's a lot of that. Like it's a lot of old laws and about us that will get in this redacted. Like mostly if you want to do a lot of searching, you got to go to each state records. You know what I'm saying? You got to petition to that state for those type of records, and it'd be all redacted, and I'll be like, yo, whoa, these people really is trying to keep this thing in the grave. Islam.
Islam. Brother J. Coleman.
Islam, Moors.
Islam.
Islam. Can I go to chapter 25? Do I got time?
Go ahead, Mo.
Islam, Moors. First, I rise to give all praise to Allah. High honors to the last prophet in these days, Prophet Noble Drew Ali. I give honors to all true and divine prophet Jesus, Muhammad, Buddha, and Confucius, and everything pertaining to Islam. Peace.
Peace.
So I'll turn your attention to chapter 25, the Holy Comforter of the Asiatic nation. It says, ye are the children of one father, provided for by his care, and the breast of one mother have given you suck. Let the bonds of affection therefore unite thee with thy brothers, that peace and happiness may dwell in our Father's house. And when you separate in the world, remember the relation that binded you to love and unity, and prefer not a stranger before thy own blood. If thy brother's in adversity, assist him. If thy sister's in trouble, forsake her not. So shall the fortunes of thy father contribute to the support of his whole race, and his care be continued to you all with your love to each other. Peace, Moors.
Peace.
Islam.
Islam, AGS. I called on you before.
AGS.
Yeah, I was off the line for a second.
All right.
Islam to all the Moors, Islam, Brother Chairman. And, you know, I was just thinking, you know, and Brother Corey was speaking about what some people are doing to try to keep us from going where we need to go. But I always think about, if you are God, how can anyone, and if you with Allah, how can anyone be against you? So the question is, when the prophet said the temples are going to dwindle down to a handful, why? What happened? And I think that when Brother Coleman just read that chapter and recited that chapter, that's what didn't happen. Right. You see, you got thousands of Asiatics, 1920, just like Marcus Garvey, hundreds of thousands. Chicago, New York, Cleveland, Newark, Virginia, Baltimore. What happened? Because if we don't answer that, we're gonna still be going round and round and round. See, it lies in how we deal with each other. It lies in how Brother Kirkman Bey and Brother Mealy Eel and the Cook Bey brothers and all these people we talk about, supposed to be our mentors, supposed to be leaders that we look up to. What happened? So, I mean, they brothers and sisters just like us. So you touched the prophet's hand. Did the prophet touch your heart, or you just touched the prophet's hand? I don't know. I wasn't there. What I know is what we have today. Is the same answer that was last year, same answer in the prophet's time, same answer 1,000 years ago, same answer 1,000 years from now. That's love. And you can't fake it. You can't fake it. You can't put something on it, put something on it, make it look good.
Right.
You got to learn to love instead of hate. Seek ye first the kingdom of heaven, and all these things will be added to you. All these things will not be added to us if we don't seek the kingdom of heaven first. And even if we get glimpses of it, to tear each other down would just be pathetic. It's like when you see these Moors on YouTube dealing with police officers and in the court system and everything. Some of them know a little something, some of them don't know nothing. You know, the prophet had to go around his elbow to get to his thumb, but you think you could just do whatever you want to do. You know, so we've seen so much Brother Ferguson Hill and other Moors, and we love all the Moors, and love. Don't take the focus. The Grand Sheik's always talking about it. The Grand Sheik's always focusing on unity. We said the temples representing love, and so it don't matter who comes in here. They're all in the equal sight of Allah. If a billionaire ball player came in there, the Grand Sheik's not going to treat him no different than if a brother was homeless at that moment in time.
That's right.
It's not about that. It's about human beings, your brothers and your sisters in a struggle, a real struggle we have out there. Brother Anderson, was talking about dealing with these young men, and we know about our young women. It's a real struggle. But love, just let's try to learn. Take whatever you got. I don't know where you are along the way. You don't know where I am. But wherever you are, take that little bit you have and nurture it like you're a gardener. You know, put a little something on it, put a little sunshine on it, put a little miracle grow on it, give it a little nutriment or something. Talk to the plant. Talk to yourself. You know, I'm only loving 2 people. Maybe by the end of the year, I can love 3 people. You know what I'm saying? Maybe I don't love myself today, but maybe by June I can start to like myself. Wow. You know, but have a plan of action. Because if we don't have a plan of action to learn how to love instead of hate, it don't matter whether you're in the Moorish science of America, Sunni Islam, Jewish person, it don't matter what religious part you're talking about, you're not actually in it. You're not with it. When it says to love the prophet, to love Allah, to love the temple, we show it through our actions. Peace.
Peace. Islam. Thank you, Brother El Surrounded Bay, Sheikh Divine Minister.
Islam.
Okay.
Islam. I was looking up High German and just the different places that it was even spoken. And I'm trying to pull out my notes. It says I'm trying to find it.
Take your time.
Islam, Sister Susan, you have something you wanted to say? I'm gonna yield because I can't find my notes. Sister Susan has something she wanted to say.
Go ahead, Sister
My
Susan.
apologies, most. Peace.
Sheikh is Divine Minister.
Islam. Thank you, President. I was going to reply to Brother Volkezil when he asked about the significance of High German at that time. So medical terminology, medical assisting, that was something that I took, right? But I also took other little studies related to science. Science was my major for a period in time, and I minored in mathematics. Now, what I came to learn about that, you know, I was wondering when all this stuff was going to come in handy, right? All these lectures and those expensive books with a whole bunch of added information. So praise Allah for Brother Volkezil asking a question that I was able to pull out of that, right? So the significance was that back in the 16th century, Latin was the language spoken in science. So that was going back to Newton. Newton used science. And he wrote it, when he spoke science, he spoke it in Latin. Going past that toward like the 19th century, it went to three different languages, but it was English was at the end, France was first, I believe, and German was second. So German was like the one of the highest languages of science as far as being advanced in the sciences. So when you ask the significance, I was thinking this is the Moorish Science Temple of America. And so just like when we learn the aspects of Latin and being able to go back into some of the root words and understanding what it meant as far as how our country was started, there's also things with understanding the root words and some of these documents. They were rooted at a point in time in High German. And that was the thought on that part. But that was what I was jumping in to say, because I didn't want it to veer too far away. And I kind of like to hear Brother Coleman, if he could be the last of the reading, just so that it can end off in that high vibration of the reading of the closing of the chapter, just so it doesn't take away from it, because it's always so appreciated.
Islam.
Praise Allah.
Praise Allah.
I was gonna ask about the not ask, but mention with the Holy Islam, but
Good.
I'm sorry, sis. I was just wondering when you were saying about the High German and the brother. Maybe I must have missed that. I got off the call. Brother was asking about the meaning of it.
Islam, I'll let Brother Vocazil to if that's all right, Moors. I'll let you Islam.
Islam.
Sister Cecile, you're great. I always learn from you. And that makes sense, because I was looking at the etymology, etymology.com, and looking up of the words, and they always break it down, sometimes with French and then German, and like the English root of things in Latin as well. So I appreciate that. It's true. Islam. And the question is that why what was the determining factor in the Prophet taking Brother C. Kirkman Bey down to Cuba from reading High German, and that it was answered.
I don't. Maybe I missed it, because I always thinking that when you listen to the story, right, and the Brother Grand Sheik read it today, the sister said a prophet pulled a book out. So now there must have been something in the book the prophet wanted to know about, and he didn't know High German, and brother can interpret the book for him that he had. I mean, am I, you know what I'm saying? I'm showing the importance at that time, and the fact that he's going to an international conference, whether it's, I don't think German was going to be, just personally speaking, at an international conference of American states from Latin America, South Central, I think Spanish and various dialects or maybe French would be more than German or Portuguese, because some of them were speaking Portuguese down there in Brazil and Argentina. I'm just saying, but the thought I had from when the expression of High German is that the prophet had a book, and I would wish I knew what that book was,
right?
That the prophet pulled out, that he needed some interpretation, because it could have been a book pertaining to many different things. But praise Allah.
Praise Allah.
I'm sorry, I wasn't done. I just wanted to give you yield. Is that all right?
Yes, please.
Islam, I also just wanted to interject. We are at a time check. Proceed.
Okay. Thank you, Sister Harmony. Please proceed. Finish your statement, Sister Silvio.
Islam, gratitude on the time check as well. Islam, thank you, Morris. I was just gonna also just jump right to just at that time also Germany was very much advanced in the times from like the late 1880s to like early 1900s. They were really one of the ones that had kind of moved along in progression with machine building and actually having hired workers. That was just the input as to what they were what was being added at that time. I was going to also say with regard to master and servant, he was talking to our people who came out of a form of slavery, and so I don't think it was as for us. It's a different meaning, but at that time I think it was literal. Like you got masters and you had servants. Like you were literally subjected to servitude, and it was saying repine. Like don't be upset. Don't too much. Don't really don't really stress over it at the state, like the conditions of your servitude. And servitude is a fourth state, it's specific, right? And it's saying it's the appointment of Allah. And it's telling you it has many advantages. And then it starts with naming the one. It removes thee from cares and solicitudes in life. So it's saying that this person is obviously under the control of somebody else. And so the solicitudes, not so much a solicitation, like when somebody's like hustling or like trying to sell you something out on the streets, but more of like out of the cares, like solicitous is where it's rooted from, where it goes back and almost like solace, but solace is not exactly the meaning of it, but solicitudes goes back into the feeling of cheerfulness, you know. It says removes these from the cares and the anxieties, not cheerfulness, but the extreme anxieties. I'm sorry, not cheerfulness. It can be cheerful depending on how it's utilized, but in this, it's saying it takes you away from certain anxieties and responsibilities when it spoke to cares. But it's also, it sounds like instructions in the Bible. I'm gonna pull it next time. I'll try to share the verses with the Grand Sheiks so that he can express it. But this comes from the Bible. I'm gonna try to remember where, but it's talking about the balance. And this to me stuck out because when the prophet said, don't throw away your Bible, he's gonna use it to condemn the European. I think it was more, it wasn't about just the nations of the people as much as helping to bring about an understanding within what the Bible was instructing. So yes, you might have had a right to have slaves, but you didn't have a right to do certain things to them. And so I think that it was just kind of letting you know that it takes, you know, there's a reward in all of it, and for both parties. And with that, I'll say peace.
Brother El Serrano Bay, Sheikh Divine Minister.
Islam. Islam, can you hear me?
Yes.
Praise Allah. So I was looking up High German and the different places that even High German was spoken. And you know, I came across this on Wikipedia. It says the High German languages or High German dialects comprised a variety of German spoken south of the Benrath and Uerdingen isoglosses in central and southern Germany, Austria, Liechtenstein, Switzerland, Luxembourg, and eastern Belgium, as well as in neighboring portions of France, Italy, the Bohemia, Poland, and they're also spoken in the diaspora in Romania, Russia, the United States, Brazil, Argentina, Mexico, Chile, and Namibia. And then I came across another article where it says nowadays at least 1 million German speakers live in Latin America. There are also German-speaking minorities in almost every Latin American country, including Argentina, Belize, Bolivia, Brazil, Chile, Colombia, Costa Rica, Dominican Republic, Ecuador, Guatemala. Mexico actually has the third highest German population is in Mexico. Nicaragua, Paraguay, Peru, Uruguay, and Venezuela. And you know, I just thought that was interesting. And you know, with that, I say peace.
Peace. Praise Allah.
Praise Allah.
Thank you, Moore. Thank you.
Thank you, Sheikh.
I just want to read one part, the instruction. It said the gospel of the resurrection of the dead is not confined to the Jew or Greek. It is the riches of every man in every time and clime. And I'm here a demonstrator of the power of man. And we talk about the painting of immortality of the life, painting of the rainbow. So a lot of times, like I said, that what we have or what was given to us is like I said, to restore us back to that state of mind of our forefathers. the God-men and the God-woman of today. So we got to, like I said, that's why I think Clinton Bentley was saying we can't limit ourselves. We can't be playing around with this. We got to be able to carry out the instruction of the Prophet Noble Drew Ali. Just take that and just let's build on it. Whatever you brought, let's build on it. You know. Anything else, Banshee?
We're all set otherwise. Thank you, Brother Chairman. Thank
All
you,
right.
Morris.
Islam.
Islam.
I'd like to thank Morris for all the contributions physically, spiritually, and financially. I pray Allah continue to guide us. I pray Allah continue to protect us. I pray Allah continue to shield us against all negative forces seen and unseen. And don't forget to do our prayer. And don't forget to put the thought out there for the healing of the world. You know, like I said, the Prophet said, we're gonna rule again. You know, we're gonna rule again. So we also can heal again. So we can heal the world.
Islam.
All right. The Prophet brought us the remedies. All right. That's it, Grand Street.
That's it.
All rise, face the east. Feet at the 90 degrees. 45 on the east side. Repeat the Moorish American prayer after our Grand Sheet.
Allah, the Father of the universe.
Allah,
the Father of the
universe.
Father of love.
The Father of
love.
Truth.
Truth.
Peace.
Peace.
Freedom. And justice.
And
justice.
Allah is my protector.
Allah is
my protector.
My guide.
My guide.
In my salvation.
In my
salvation.
By night.
By
night.
And by day.
And by
day.
Through his holy prophet.
Holy prophet.
Wali.
Ali.
Amen.
Amen.
Yes, Lord.
Yes. Peace, Morris.
Peace.
Love Morris.
This is Moorish science. And what we deal with, vibration. Beyond mere quantum physics. Everything emanates. And everything is a manifest thought.
Thank you. I was going to say that, sister. Praise Allah. Perfect. Right there.
The fact that the Moorish Science Temple of America is a legally organized religious corporation. We are purposed to address human needs. We, the people of the Moorish Science Temple of America, like countless other citizens, know that we must live together here in America and abroad in harmony, friendship, and goodwill. Last year, we celebrated our 100th anniversary, reaffirming our commitment to our culture and religion, which engulfs fundamental principles designed to strengthen civilization and posterity, which includes obedience to law, respect, loyalty to government, tolerance, and unity. We are friends and servants of humanity. We are dedicated to the purpose of elevating the moral, social, and economic status of our people. We have set about to do this through a wide and comprehensive program embodying the principles of love, truth, peace, freedom, and justice. Next Tuesday, October the 14th at 1 o'clock, in our annual tradition, we host a historical trek beginning at the Independence Visitor Center at 6th and Market. More than 200 of our members will gather to trace our national roots and afterwards enjoy a feast at the African American Museum of History. We invite you all to participate in this event. Again, on behalf of the membership of the Moorish Science Temple of America, I thank you, Councilwoman Reynolds Brown, Councilwoman Tasco, and you all for this special recognition and joining the celebration of our history. We hope to see you Tuesday. In the city of brotherly love, I bid you peace.
This is Moorish science. And what we deal with, vibration. beyond mere quantum physics. Everything emanates, and everything is a manifest thought. Your thoughts create a feel, a vibe. And remember, man is God's masterpiece. I snapped back awake, jumped up off the floor, lateral to vertical, in the middle of a war. Grab a Gallagher, reactivated, ready for more. I heard a voice say, pick him up, this one is a more. Take him up out of the water, put him down on the shore. Like the end of a bad dream, I heard the words of a prophet. Gave me a new set of weapons to battle my own logic. Went for the knockout, but shot back out of pocket, I gotta go hard. I've been too far, it's been a long time coming. The temple's like gold bars, I'm amped, I can't hold it back. And flashing my card, raised pride got me fired up, possessed and zeal. Scream truth through a bullhorn, still angry for real. I had to pace myself, not brace myself. If I half step, I won't get the full effect. At that point, I decide to adjust my stride. I gotta stop rushing and enjoy the ride. We international. This uncut truth had me acting like Maximus, screaming hold the line while I round the troops up. I was a tight cause they didn't react fast enough. I played the fool, tried to put pants on a bucking mad mule. He get up, kick them slacks off when I had him subdued. Don't be too selfless with this knowledge itself. It's not selfish to be the message itself. You learn much more effective cause health is wealth. What's your true mentality? What's your nationality? Can I peep your ID? We dealing strictly with reality. I started working on my own thought patterns. If it's a war of the worlds, then it's mind over mattering. I'm micro to macro, my mind over Saturn. I'ma make them sit down, that's how true Moors get down. Called the graves ill, lesson number 101. She told the Moors, just be Moors, the work is done. Stop watching the throne, conquer your dome. Love is the cure, Moors, the battles at home. These tools are jewels, the lessons like weapons, the real war is your own. I got my mission, I heard the call. I know my origin, I studied my fall. My character, my flag, whether big or small, unsolved. We came back for it all like Carpenter Hall. We international. We international.
Peace and love.